Have you checked your microphone outs? They're fine?
Yeah.
They worked then? Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it was working. And we are live. Hello, everybody. You guys will probably be joining in a few minutes. But hi, welcome, good morning or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Today, we built a new L-shaped wall. We've gotten heaps of questions about those, the walls that Peter's got on wheels. So we built a new one on Tuesday and Wednesday, and now we're going to paint it like the grunge psych that we have, because we get lots of questions about that as well.
And aren't we going to put it up as a prequel?
Oh yes, and we've filmed building the wall, so that'll be up in the next few days. And yeah, so hopefully next week that'll be up. It does take a little bit of time to edit videos, so yeah, stay tuned for that. Anyways, I might throw it over to Peter. I think that was all.
You've chickened out already. You've already chickened out.
I can't think of what else I had to cover. I think that's... Oh, if you guys have any questions, please leave them in the chat box. I will ask them to Peter. Yeah.
If she doesn't answer you reasonably quickly, ask her, keep typing the same question over and over and she'll finally see it. She hasn't had wine, so
wrong camera.
She'll be a bit slow.
There's Peter on the floor.
So is it onto me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just mixing up our paints now. I have been in this building for more than 15 years, I think, or 12, 13, 14. Yeah, it'd be coming up to 15 years, I think, this year. We have accumulated lots of paint, so we tend to use our leftover paints, and some of these paints are what we use to do the other grey wall. So some of them are already in the shades that I want to work with. I'm just getting them mixed up roughly. I'm not too much worried about cross-contamination because these are all cross-contaminated paint anyway, which means they've been mixed before. I'm trying to do low contrast, and what I mean is I'm not going to paint black and white. So I'm more going to be painting shades of grey. Oops.
That's the wide one that gets you on the floor. This was once when you're standing up.
All right. So I just want it to be shades of grey, not black to white, because if it's too contrasty, it takes over the photo way too much. So I think this one might be my lightest shade that I use. Now we've made this wall, so it's 2.4 metres, and we've got 4 sides of this wall. One side we've decided to leave just as timber because it looked really cool. One side I've painted pitch black because I want to try and do a really dark grunge wall. And then I've got 2 different shades of grey, so I can do a lighter and then a medium, which is closer to the one over there.
I painted the lighter grey wall. I did a fantastic job of it. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. That's
all right. I suppose I painted 2 walls, cleaned all the brushes, did all of it, and you painted 1 wall and played with puppies.
Exactly. Important things.
You're good at things. So for this live stream, I'm only going to work on that wall because it's still going to take a fair bit of time. Although I might jump, if that's too wet to do stuff, I might start working on this wall as well. But pretty much any questions about anything, it doesn't have to be about painting walls, it can be on anything you like, we'll answer.
Yes. Hello to everyone joining in. Jeff says that I'm great and that you need to give me a raise.
Give her a raise? Oh my God, I said I'd drop her, I'd double her wage if I didn't have to pay her wine bill.
Oh my gosh.
And she said, nah, I want the wine bill.
I need the wine. You guys all know. Alex has got a question. Sent a message to you last October on Instagram and just wanted to say a huge thank you for your response.
Oh, we answered, did we? Yeah, we do try to answer everybody.
No, we did. No, he sent a question through Instagram and we replied, and your answer gave him a lot of insight. So he wanted to say thank you.
Oh, good. We try and answer everyone. But sometimes I just get too busy and don't quite get to everybody. In fact, that looks lighter again. I think that'll be the one that I'm going to start with. Cool. So with this, the most important thing with doing the grunge walls and that is to keep it can't have anything symmetrical, it can't feel like it's supposed to blend from that to that. I'm just going to start with one tray with this, and I'm going to grab a pretty shitty, that's a shittier brush. I want a quite stiff shitty brush, and I just start, and there's no rhyme or reasoning, so I'm just going to do. If you try and do it with anything that looks like you know what you're doing, it's not going to work. So it is my under area is I need to get some definition marked out, and I normally use different types of materials and things to get that the way I want it.
What are you using now?
It's a bit of grotty sponge that we've destroyed over the years. If you watch the backdrop makers, they tend to work with a set patterning. I don't want that. I don't want patterns because I'm trying to recreate something that just happened over a lot of years. So it's not going to have a set patterning, and I try not to use the same type of brush or material, whatever I'm using, and I try to use it in different ways. It's cool.
George wants to know, when we post the L-shaped wall tutorial, can we put the supply list and cutting measurements?
Yeah, we'll put all of, Beck will do a nice, well, I'll give Beck a nice little list of all my cutting measurements, but it's basically, for this one, a lot of the times they're L-shaped walls, which means I go 2.4 by 1.2, but I've decided with this one, I wanted 4 equal walls, so this is more than an L, it's like a full square.
We'll put all that in there, and yeah, that video should be up reasonably soon. Juan wants to know if we will be coming to Miami soon. Probably aren't going to be traveling until next year because Australia's borders are closed. So that really
Beck
sucks.
and I are dying. We should be in Europe now. And we
Should be in Barcelona right now.
Yeah. We would have already been in Amsterdam, Frankfurt, London, Zurich, Geneva.
Stop my heart. It's breaking.
All these amazing places we have missed out on this year. But yeah, look, once our problem is the Australian state governments have decided, without telling anybody, the whole thing was flatten the curve. Now it's, we don't seem to have corona, so we're just going to shut the place down and lock ourselves away from the world, which is not going to work because I can't see any short-term vaccination being found because there's things like other flus that they haven't got a vaccination for after many years. So our country really has to get over it and just treat it like a flu now. But anyway, that's my political stance.
Speaking of, Gilbert said this is way more interesting than watching the news.
Oh yeah, the news there.
The news is depressing.
So I'm just using some water now, and it's just every now and then I want to get something to run. And there's no rhyme or reason where I'm going to do this. I'm just picking something to run. That'll do. And you'll see it started to run off. And seriously, there's no rhyme or reason or right or wrong to do what I'm doing now. It's just whatever you feel like doing, playing, then step back. And once I step back, I sometimes squint my eyes. I think when I did the one over there, we actually set a camera up and took it in focus and out of focus to see if it was working for us. And I don't think I need to do that anymore. I think I can see it with my eyes. What other piece of crap am I going to use?
Peter, Jeff wants to know, how do you color grade, hang on, let me switch to that one. How do you color grade match existing photos from another photographer to your photos?
I've been playing around with this a little bit, and I'm wanting to do a tutorial on it. The problem is I haven't been able to find a cheap way to do it for all you guys. So you can get DaVinci Resolve. So you can also use DaVinci Resolve. You take a still frame into it and you can do some color grading in there, and you can do a comparison. So you can bring their picture in and then your picture in and then create a LUT. What I found is that there's a company called Color Finale, and they have a thing called Cinema Grade.
Yeah.
The only thing is Cinema Grade doesn't export LUTs. That's the only downside. But what's the other one we use? Color Finale's, oh, it's just Color Finale, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Color Finale 2 Pro.
Yeah.
What I can do is I can bring somebody else's picture in, bring my picture in, and because my scopes will show me the coloring and everything, and I am going to do a tutorial on this. I've been playing around with it. It's not an easy thing to teach. It's very, very confusing. But I can match. So when we're doing video and we've got different cameras, and maybe Becca's done her job really well and got a different color balance on one, or something like that. By using this technique, I've been able to perfectly match two cameras with different, one might be on daylight, one might be on tungsten, one might be underexposed, the other one's overexposed. So I've found that Color Finale in Final Cut Pro, I can get it very, very close. Then I can export it as a LUT, which is called a lookup table. Then in Photoshop under layers, you can bring in a LUT layer, and then you can blend it in onto the picture. But I am about halfway through. It's no good me doing on right now because I still got to play more otherwise I'm going to be giving you fake news. There's enough of that around at the moment.
Hello everybody. Robert he said he's late to the party. Is that drywall?
So, yeah, this was dry, but the lighter areas now are wet.
Right.
So
isn't drywall a material?
Oh no, it's just ply. It's 4 mil thick. Sorry, we're in Australia, so we don't talk in pounds and gallons.
Inches, not.
Yeah, no, I'm stirring.
Oh, sorry.
So we're talking centimeters, millimeters, and meters. So those sheets are 4 mil thick ply. Where's my next color? I'm going to do that one.
Let me switch over to that. Sorry, I'm just trying to go through. Peter, can you please tell the difference on the viewfinders on Canon 5D Mark IV and the Sony A7 Mark III?
Yeah, the viewfinders will be completely different because one's a mirrorless and the other one's through the...
No, the DSLR, isn't it?
It's a DSLR. So you're not looking at a TV screen, you're looking out through... All right, there's a fairly strong talk, and it happened when mirrorless first came out. People started talking about they hated the viewfinders on mirrorless because it didn't look like what they were seeing with their eyes. It looked like a TV exposure or something they saw with their eyes. And I don't disagree with that, but at the end of the day, I'm not really concerned what I see through the viewfinder. I'm concerned about what I see when the picture's taken. And that's more what you see in the viewfinder with a mirrorless, because what's in the viewfinder is a preview of what the thing's going to be, which is on your back of your screen. So it's going to be more representative of the photo that you're about to take. So I'm actually much more happy with looking at a mirrorless viewfinder than a optical viewfinder, just for that reason that I'm seeing what my capture is going to look like, so I can make my decisions on exposure, color balance, the type of lens I'm using, all of that type of thing. I can make those decisions based on what I'm seeing in the viewfinder, not based on after taking a photo and then seeing at the end of the photo. Now, when it comes to cameras, the Canon 5Ds, the Nikon 850s, the Sonys, they're all really good cameras. So it comes down to what lenses you got, what gear you got, and what you like. It took me, I'd say, 6 months of messing around with mirrorless before I fell in love with it. At first I didn't like them at all, but once I spent some time, learnt my camera setup, setting up my menus and everything properly, then I started to really fall in love with the mirrorless thing for being creative. With my Hasselblad, I'm predominantly shooting tethered, and in the studio I have a lot more control over exposure. With studio lights, I can control my contrast so much better just using the studio lights than natural light, and I tend to use my mirrorless more out in the field where I have to use my eyes to find the right contrast I want and then shoot it. So I want to see in my viewfinder that contrast. I also do it, the other thing I really like is I have my viewfinder set to black and white, so I don't see color. And it's going to be hard with this camera because there's really nothing much that's color. But if you just open your front door, look out into your street, and then think, what can I see?
Maybe, hang on, let me flick to the other one, let me see.
No, it's all right.
We can see some color.
Yeah, but it's not really strong, is it?
Oh, yeah, it's kind of orange cones
over there. The orange cone. So pretty much is if you look out here, you're going to say, I can see this, I can see that, I can see something else. Now, if I point out to you that we've got a yellow thing here, we've got an orange cone down here, we've got a bit green on the tin, a few different colors around here. If you look at the picture again, you now realize that you're actually seeing color. You're seeing those color things, the things that stand out the most. That's why we have those safety vests, so you can see them. When you take an image to black and white, now you only see light. So it allows your brain to actually look at the contrast and what's happening with the light, and the color isn't confusing you. But yeah, it's just...
Brendan has said hi from TAFE Set for photography class. I wonder if they're watching this in class.
From where?
In Coffs Harbour, a TAFE photography class. I wonder if they're watching. That's pretty cool.
If they're watching us in class, that's good. They should give us some questions.
That's awesome.
In fact, because we're going to get stuck in Australia, so maybe we should go up to Coffs Harbour. I love that place.
That'd be cool.
That'd be cool?
Yes.
Yes.
And someone has said that they just came here because they hadn't seen anything post from you in a few weeks. It's been a bit hard for us.
It's extremely hard. I don't think people realise how many hours is spent to make one single video. You know, we can spend up to 40 hours just to create a half-hour video. Yeah. And because our commercial works, literally, we've done still only done two, haven't we? Yeah. Yeah, so two commercial jobs in 2 months. I've never worked so hard in my life. Because of the amount of video content that we're creating, I think we've filmed 6 or 7 Inspires. All of next week's going to be just video editing. My whole weekend, I'll be doing 15, 16-hour days just video editing, because it just does take that long. And it's not like I want it Mickey Mouse, I do still want it, but by the time we go through all the footage, and sometimes we're filming with 5, 6, 7 cameras. Yeah. It just takes time.
Very time consuming.
And it is only Beck and myself, and Beck doesn't do a lot of the video editing yet because I'm one of these control freaks.
Very fussy.
But she's going to, she did one of herself the other day,
yeah.
And she's got one coming up soon that she's going to, oh, she's doing the...
I'm doing the exposure one.
The new
and
exposure and colour one, yeah. So all I'm doing is, as I'm spraying, I'm going to just, areas that are looking too clean and not blurry enough for what I'm trying to create. You can see there's a lot of thought that's gone into this.
This looks like so much fun.
It actually is, I just pretend it's you. Beat the shit
So
out of it. Oh,
mean.
so bad, yes, so now I'm going to get haters.
Peter, are your jeans going to turn into the ripped ones that you shoot all the time?
These might end up the ripped painted ones.
Pretty cool.
Well, that's how the other ones started.
Any plans for local workshops with Victorian restrictions easing?
What easing? We can now have 5 people.
No, we can have 20.
In a house?
Yeah,
When?
as of Monday.
Yeah, but not yet.
No, it just happened on the 1st.
No, I thought it's next Monday.
Nope, as of now.
Oh, right. Yeah, we've been in talks with a few companies. We're most likely going to do a roadshow around Australia
Go to all the capital cities.
the other states open their borders.
That's the big problem. But yeah, I should turn this on and
You should turn this on.
I'll speak to you guys.
You turn it on.
So yes, we are planning on doing Australian workshops, probably going to go all around Australia once borders are open to each state, and we will do them in each capital city all around Australia, which will be pretty cool.
And we're going to do some seminars too, so they're cheap.
Yeah, so not just more so Peter talking and demonstrating rather than shooting, but that'll be fun. I'm excited for that. And is that the right camera? Nope. Is this the right camera? Yep. Oh my gosh, what are you doing now?
Sorry?
Up on the ladder.
You broke it.
No. I'm just using this so I can see. There we go.
There we go.
There we go. Come to
up
Brisbane? Yes, we will be coming to Brisbane. We do normally do Brisbane once a year anyways. George is telling me to
We can't go to Brisbane, they've locked us out. Their borders are shut.
Hopefully that's not for very long.
I'm just having a go
Okay.
at silly governments.
Rob would like to know, is an image tainted once it's been imported into Lightroom, or can you use Lightroom to organise and still get clean un-Lightroomised raw file in ACR?
You don't get me started with Lightroom. All right. At the risk of having Camera Club people rip me a new one, and I've actually had some pretty high-end people from Adobe at a workshop. Where was it? In Canada. And it's funny, they didn't disagree with me during the workshop, but then they wanted to come back afterwards after I spoke to the tech people to say what I said was wrong, but they couldn't answer what was happening, so I was actually right. They just don't want people to know it. If you want to use Lightroom as an organising tool, fine, not a problem at all. That's not going to cause you any problems. You're just going to have to load in and run with their catalogues. But if you want to use it as a raw convert, the problem is when your Nikon file or Canon file or Sony file goes into Lightroom, and then you start manipulating it within Lightroom's RAW, which is still ACR, Adobe Camera Raw. The difference is Lightroom makes it a DNG before you start working on it. So it has changed it from a Nikon file to a DNG, or a Canon file to a DNG, and so forth. So what happens is, and as everybody says they've seen it, and I've had people say, no, it's not actually doing that. Well, I know it is actually doing that because one of the Adobe guys told me that's what's happening. And it is changing your picture from a Nikon RAW to a DNG, which is changing the look of your picture on the screen. So when it loads, you'll see it load up and change. So now if you just do all your organizing in Lightroom and then find the file that you want to work on in RAW, so find it in a filing system other than Lightroom, and then just drag that file from a folder into Photoshop, it will open up ACR and you will see that the picture does not change. It comes in and stays exactly how it came in. Now anybody who wants to try it, put a picture through Lightroom, don't do a single thing to it, export it out as an 18-bit TIFF in Adobe RGB and do the same in ACR, not through Lightroom, but straight out of your folder, and then take them and put them side by side in Photoshop and you'll see what I'm saying. I've been told it doesn't work, but every time I do it, it does it. It's just the people who've told me it doesn't work are the people who love Lightroom. I don't like Lightroom at all. ACR, I think, is the second best RAW converter, or third best RAW converter on the market. My favorite is Focus, but I can't do all my other files with it. I can only do my Hasselblad files, which is annoying. My other one I really liked, but you can't buy it anymore, is Aperture, which was an Apple program. But now even with, I think, if you have a Catalina or even that Mojave or whatever it was called, even those, you couldn't even open the Aperture program anymore. They're my other two favorites because they allow you to work with exactly what your camera puts out, which is an RGB file, which means you can get to Channel Mixer and use your RGB figures, play around with your red, green and blue channel. No other RAW convert allows you to play with your red, green, blue channels. And that annoys me lots. Lots and lots.
Carl says this is not exactly a DIY for how to paint the kitchen for the missus.
No, that's easy. You just get a bowl of spaghetti, boil it and throw it.
Oh my gosh. Dave said that we need to go to Ballarat. That's the rural capital city of Victoria.
I like Ballarat. I used to do a lot of fishing in Ballarat. Lake Wendouree.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm familiar. Richard said we need to do an Inspire on how to make the ripped jeans.
Yeah, we've been planning to do that. The only thing is I'm really scared that I'm going to get sued if I do that. It is so dangerous the way I do it. Oh. I'm going to end up with someone cutting off their arm or something and suing me because I showed how to do it.
Yeah.
But I could, yeah, look, I can show you the slow way of doing it. And then I can show you the dangerous way of doing it. I'll get back to do the dangerous way.
Yeah, no thanks.
If anyone wants to laugh, when we put our prequel to this up, which is the making of these, I made Beck use a drop saw. I made her use well, she wouldn't use a nail gun. I made her use a staple gun, and even then.
Spoiler alert, it's so not funny. That's horrible. I never want to go near power tools again.
Power tools.
I don't like them, they're terrifying. I'm just a precious little girl. Someone said, you really hate camera clubs, and then put the laughing emoji, and yeah, he does.
No, look, I hate the new camera clubs. The old film camera clubs were amazing because a lot of what they talked about and what they did was from years and years of experience, and a lot of what it was darkroom work and how to dodge and burn properly in darkroom, how to use different chemicals different ways. They didn't tend to rip people over their photos of pelicans. They allowed someone to take a picture of a pelican that wasn't in the square. Beck sees it herself. We see time and time a comment come through, and all we can see is this poor guy is struggling to take the photos he wants to take, like what he sees in magazines, because he's listened to people with their own rules about how photography should be, whereas the photos that were in the magazines the guys looking at were taken without rules. So it's really hard to go to a fashion magazine like a Vogue or any of the high-end fashion magazines, even advertising. Half of those images with camera clubs would be shot to pieces. And you're trying to take this type of photo, but then you've got the people around you saying, oh, you can't do that, you can't do that, you've got to do this. And that just then messes with your ability to do what they've done. And anybody who is watching this who doesn't like my views on this, I would just suggest you have a look at some of the high-end fashion photography. I'm talking high-end, I'm not talking about Mother's Day or Woman's Weekly or even Australian Vogue. I'm talking about some of the really hard magazines to get to. And I guarantee you, especially with magazines like Frankie and Oyster, you're going to look at the pictures and go, this is crap. This is horrible. You're going to hate them. Guess what? They're getting paid a lot of money to take those pictures. So who's right and who's wrong? They're also getting published in magazines that are getting looked at by lots of people. So obviously they're doing their job. And it's no different to watching cinematography. If you applied what you see in movies into your photography and then took it to a camera club or a group of weekend photographers and asked them about it, the first thing they're going to say, oh, is you blocked up your blacks. Oh, I don't like, they're going to, but this is what's in the movies that you're watching. You watch any blockbuster, you'll always see them blowing outs on sides of faces and things when they're backlit.
Yeah.
And if you did that in the photo, you'd be ripped a new one. You know, need more water.
Oh.
But you can keep talking.
Okay, I should probably flick it to me then. Actually, someone sent a really nice comment before saying they just signed up for Inspire and said that if everyone hasn't, they should.
Sorry?
Someone said before that they just signed up for Inspire and that if people haven't signed up, they should because they're really liking the content, which I thought was nice. So thank you for that.
Did you just make that up?
No, I
This
forgot
is
to
Beck
say.
trying to get a pay rise.
I saw it before.
The more people we have on
And I forgot
Inspire,
to say something and I just remembered. So.
Sorry?
I saw it before and I forgot to say something because I didn't want to interrupt you, but I just remembered.
I still feel though it's more in photography than any other art. If you listen to music, bands just do whatever they do. And if you think about bands like, people like Skrillex, when he's first doing his dubstep, everyone said, this is just, I heard someone say it was like Transformers having sex. He made shitloads of money because a lot of people liked it. Your classical musicians would have hated it. But then there's a really, really cool thing with one of his albums. He did a remake of a famous Doors song. And he had two members of the Doors come into the studio to work with him on a remake of, well, a dubstep version of a Doors song, well, using samples and things. And you could see when these two guys first came in, Skrillex was going crazy, showing him all this stuff. He was like a fanboy for the Doors because he loved them. And you could see the look on their face, what have we just walked into? This is shit. You could see that they didn't get it. They weren't into the dubstep sound. They weren't into it at all. But the amazing, I think it's about a 20-minute doco on this, you see by the end of the making of the song, these two guys from the Doors were so into this music and loved what they'd created. So it's just that thing that sometimes you need to get rid of those boundaries that are around you to be able to create stuff that's unique, which
Full
people want to
circle.
pay. Huh?
Full circle. I was like, how's he going to bring this back to photography?
Well, it is. It's exactly that. Well, you hear me preach about this all the time.
I know. Does it matter if you convert to black and white in post rather than shooting in black and white picture mode to begin with?
I only work in RAW. So if you're in black and white picture mode, once you go to your RAW picture, it's color again, because color is raw. Unless you own a Leica or a Phase, which are black and white digital cameras, in RAW, all your pictures are color. So with my Sony, I'll put it into black and white, just so my viewfinder goes to black and white so I don't see color anymore. And because that's what I love, my black and white, so that's what I want to be looking at to make my decisions about my exposure, my contrast, my backgrounds. Everything is going to be what I see through the viewfinder or what I see in the back of the camera. I want that to represent what I'm trying to create. If you're shooting in JPEG mode, yeah, you're going to be stuck with whatever profile you've got on your camera. And even though I know of a couple of fairly large photographers that will shoot stuff in JPEG mode, there's nothing wrong with it, you're just stuck with what you've shot. But if you like what you've shot, there's nothing wrong with shooting in JPEG mode, just as long as you realise that you're really not going to be able to do fine tuning. But there's nothing wrong with unedited photos either. I used to do that for a long time in film before digital came strong, especially in colour. In black and white, I always had mates who were really good with their dark rooms. So I would hassle my mates to be able to do my black and white, and then I'd tell them I want this dodge and burn here, I want this lighter, darker, so forth. I couldn't do it because the chemicals in a dark room just messed with my brain too much. Oh, Beck's running around crazy.
Spec's trying to change batteries.
He's changing batteries.
Yes. Okay.
This is just going to be layer upon layer upon layer.
Flick it over. Oh no, you're blocking the camera.
Yeah, no, sorry, I'm looking at where I need to do stuff and what colorings I need. I need a little bit more of the darker.
I like the way that you get it to drip with the water. It looks really cool. I was wondering how you did it, but
you like that?
yeah.
Oh,
It's giving me ideas. Maybe I want to paint my lounge room like this. I don't think I'll be allowed to paint my lounge room like this.
Why not? Just do it when he's not home, even though he has to work from home at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to work.
You'll find a way.
Nah.
You're not asking many questions, girlie.
Oh, Anne says that she misses us. Hi, Anne. We miss you too.
Is that Anne?
Yeah.
Hasn't she got her hands in someone's mouth at the moment?
Obviously not.
Obviously not. Anne Duffy is a model I've been working with for years and years and years, and we actually travelled last year.
Incredible model from Canberra.
We travelled with her last year throughout Europe.
Yes, it was so much fun. Probably drank too much, but that's fine.
If you're looking my YouTube ones, there's a couple of things with Anne. There's the baseball bat video,
Yeah.
and there's the one I wrote some psytrance dubstep music to. What do we call that one?
Bunnies.
Oh, bunnies. There's a bunnies video
Yes.
with Anne in. She's one of the famous bunnies.
Any thoughts on Capture One as a RAW converter?
Haha. Beck, it doesn't take much to get Beck riled up.
I didn't get riled up. I just said it made me look gross.
No, I didn't. Wasn't going to go that way.
Oh.
We get lots and lots of people asking me to do stuff on Capture One.
Oh, that, yeah.
Oh, that. And when I used to shoot Canon back years and years ago, that was what I used to use to tether. That was what I used to use to do some of my raw convert work, but I use aperture a fair bit for my raw convert because I really liked what that did. When I went on to Hasselblad, I actually said to Hasselblad, how come you have a $50,000 camera with the shittest software in the world? And their old software was a thing called Flex Color or something, and it was crap. It basically had 2 or 3 things you could slide around, but you could get to a red, green, blue channel, which was cool, and it had a couple of other simple little exposure, no shadow fill, no nothing. I fell in love with that program because those couple of sliders allowed me to do everything. So for the last 12, 13 years, I pretty much used the Hasselblad program for my Hasselblad and some of my Sony work, and ACR, as it's got better, more for my camera work with my Sony. And I'm really happy with what I can do with my Sony now in ACR. We were overseas last year in Milan, and we had a lot of people asking me to do stuff on capture. Now, the couple of things that I don't like about capture and Lightroom is I don't want to have to import my files into a program. I just want to go, oh, here's all my photos taken. I just want to work on this one. I don't want to import all the rest because most of them I'm not going to use maybe. So that's the first thing I like about using ACR and the Hasselblad program, that I didn't have to have catalogs and all of these files sitting everywhere, and I got used to that. When Beck and I in Milan tried to do a tethered shoot, I tried to get my look by using the tools the way I used them in ACR and Focus, and they broke. They just wouldn't work. So I couldn't get the same feel of getting my blacks black but with detail. I couldn't get that clarity sort of look, which I can get now in both ACR and Focus, where it doesn't sharpen. But with the Capture One, no matter what I did, it seemed to block it up too much. We tried, I think, 7 or 8 times to do some tutorials tethered, and we had nothing but problems. We kept on cameras disconnecting, we changed cables, we had Capture One guys tell us what to do, we did all, but we'd be shooting, all of a sudden we're disconnected. The camera would sit there on a tripod and just go, disconnect. We found that when we changed our apples to Catalina, we're not having that problem now, so we can keep a connection happening, and we can literally unplug one camera and plug another camera in that's seeing it. So from that side of it, it now has fixed one of the bugs that made it near impossible for us to do a tutorial on it. But we still kept on getting, and I've got people around the world who every week send us an email, when are you going to do something on Capture One? And how I look at it is I don't use Capture One, so I'm not really the best person to show you how to use it, because I'm not a big fan of how it works, so I don't use it. So I'm not an expert on how to get certain looks with it. But we are trying to cover a little bit more all the bases out there. So we did a shoot which we're putting out on YouTube, aren't we? The rah-rah?
Yeah.
So we've got one coming up for YouTube, which is us shooting with cheap cameras. And we tethered to Capture One, and all the tethering and that all worked fine. But at the end of the day, I still could not get my black and white look. So I'm going to do another carry on from that shoot, whereas I'm going to do a shoot using Capture One again, using the normal cameras I would use. Then I'm going to bring side by side what I would do in ACR and then try and do it in Capture One to see if there's any way I can replicate what I can do in ACR in Capture One. That was a really long answer.
Yes, sorry, we've fallen a little bit behind,
Right.
but we will get there, guys. Where did I even? Yes. Camera clubs these days are for boosting egos. Yes, we agree.
Yeah, it's boosting the ego of the worst photographer who's normally the president. No, sorry, presidents. Yeah, it shouldn't be. Photographers shouldn't be giving critique to another photographer. It's art. You can't see in that person's eyes. You don't know what they're thinking. You don't know what they experience. So it's really hard for you to give a comment which is just.
Before, when you mentioned dark rooms, Carl said what happens in the dark room stays in the dark room.
Yeah. Except I just get headaches in the dark room. That's why I don't do it.
Did that flick over? Yes. How many shades of paint is Peter using?
Pretty much the base colour, which is that one. I've then used 1, 2, 3. So the base and 3 colours, and I think that's all I'll be using on this wall. And you don't need a lot of different shades, because when you spray water on it, you're blending those together anyway, so you're creating transitions from one shade to another. But it's starting to get there. I want to...
Looks really cool.
Well, it's a bit wet. I'm just going to blotch it a little bit.
Apparently your views are refreshing. And you have true honesty.
Yes, it's... I'm not saying I'm right. Just the people who are watching my channel are watching because I either like my photos or like the way I think. At the end of the day, you do what you like. It doesn't have any effect on my life whatsoever. But I do really feel for the amount of photographers that are starting photography and get caught up with that camera club way of thinking, but they can't create the photos that they want to create because they've got to think in this box rather than have no box. I go on about this too much, don't I, Beck?
Yeah, it's all right. You're very passionate about it. Jeff wants to know if we can get a promo code for Inspire. I have one on the last live stream that we did. So if you go to Peter's channel and go to the last live stream, there is a discount code for a yearly subscription for 15% off.
We'll put the code onto this one as well, won't we?
I can, but it's due to expire on Monday. So.
Oh.
Well, because it was 1 month from the last live stream.
Right.
So
maybe can we just extend it for one more month?
I'll see if I can.
If you can't, you'll put a new code on this
right.
one. Wait, oh, she doesn't want to see. This is robbing her of wine money.
No, it's not.
No.
Matt said to try to paint with yogurt. It'll start to grow stuff. Grungy will call it and stuff.
Our original grunge wall was done with coffee. So at the end of every cup of coffee, there's a little bit left, we just throw it on the wall because we had a coffee shoot coming up and we threw some coffee grinds, things like that. But yeah, like it looked amazing, but we were a bit scared. There was things like coronavirus growing in it, so we washed it off and painted one.
Oh my gosh. And he also said, thanks for the reply to your earlier question. You're very welcome. Someone said, understanding how your camera works as a tool to create art is one thing. Following rules to create is totally different and destroys creativity. Yes, that is basically what Peter harps on about a lot.
But when I'm working commercially, I have to go with the rules of my client.
Yeah.
So I still have to do all of that. I have to make sure I've got detail in whites and blacks and be color correct for that shoe and all those things, or whatever the art director of the day wants me to do. Yeah, but that's not my art, and I hardly ever show my commercial work because I don't like it. It's other people's ideas, not mine. Oh, don't you like me ladder?
It looked gross in the frame.
It looked gross. What other weird shit have I got to use?
Weird. Are you spraying alcohol or water to create the effect on paint?
I wouldn't waste alcohol on the wall. No, that goes in my mouth. That doesn't go on walls. Maybe at the end of the night it might end up on walls, but not at the start of the night.
You can't waste alcohol like that. So yes, it is water that he's spraying to get that running look. And do you shoot film sometimes? Sometimes.
Sorry?
Do you shoot film sometimes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have Hasselblad 503, I have a Mamiya RB67, and I have film backs for my Hasselblad H6s. So I got Polaroid backs for my Hasselblads as well as all my cameras. I've got Polaroid backs for, except for the Sony, because you can't put a Polaroid back on that. Polaroid films got really expensive. Beck should be, oh, it's not there, is it?
What?
We haven't done it much lately because
It's gone.
Polaroid film is getting so much more expensive. But Beck, you can show that off.
You can flick
There you
to
go. So
me.
what we used to do a lot is on,
Polaroid.
mainly on my shoots, sometimes on a commercial shoot, after the shoot's finished, you might just grab the model and do it. But on a my shoot, we would just
That's really overexposed.
snap it. You need to be careful, there is a boob out one, so look maybe first.
That's all right. It was overexposed.
It was, oh,
that
yeah, but I
one's
think
not
there's
though.
another one.
Yeah, maybe I should go through them first, but yeah. So yeah, there's some Polaroids.
But yeah, that's something I love doing, but I think the black and whites that I use are like $30 a frame now, so I've stopped doing it. I should keep doing it. I shouldn't let the price bother me, but oh, that worked.
For me, ooh, let's flick it to me.
All I'm doing now is setting up a little bit more structure on this wall because I'm finding it's these little sharp lines. I'm just finding I didn't put enough to my eye in the background, and what I'll do, I'll let those set a little bit, but then put the drips back over the top of them, which will give me my look. I love what's happening there.
For me, will I ever switch sides of the camera and become a photographer too? I don't think so. Like, I like videography more than I like photography, so I've been trying to learn a bit more about that, and I've been trying to practice, but I've had busy weekends.
You do photography?
No, I don't.
You do. Stop talking about, you'll put your low cleavage top on and you shoot like that all the time. Back in your MySpace days when you were 14.
But no, like, I don't know, I was thinking about taking photos the other weekend at a friend's birthday. But
Yeah, because you said you were going to borrow the camera.
I was, but then I got uninvited because of restrictions, so I couldn't go. There goes that. But I don't know, maybe I've been thinking I might like borrow a camera and play around with it just so I know things, because I feel like on workshops it's handy if I'm actually able to ask technical questions when Peter's busy. But other than that, no, I don't really have any interest in it. Eric's looking forward to the next Inspire tutorial. That should be going up very...
We've got
heaps to edit.
Heaps in the works. It's just that the editing time's killing us.
Editing's taking us
I think we'll get the exposure ones. There'll be exposure and a colour one, which is going up next week. And I think... Was there,
the t-shirt one?
did our one?
Yeah, the t-shirt one.
Was that t-shirt one?
Is that what you mean?
I can't remember.
The shoot with me the other day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one. So there's another Beck one going up, and we've got the Julia one, which is really getting into the real nitty gritty about posing. So it's taking posing really internal, because Julia, who we did this with, is an actor, a presenter and a model, and we're working with micro thoughts to show how much of a change it made to their face. So that was a fun one, but it's taken ages to edit because it was like 5 hours of shooting and lots of I don't need that bit or this bit. Anyway. Is that all the questions, Beck?
No, I'm just reading.
How's Coffs Harbour going?
Don't know, I haven't
Have they
read
run away
anything.
from it?
Oh no.
Did they have to go back to...
I'm just trying to read other questions. So, what program do you use to tether your shots with the Sony?
The only program I can use really at the moment is Capture One, and we've only just got that working properly after a year of trying.
Yeah.
But now but at the same time, I mostly just use it tether, but then I'll do my workflow in ACR. And what I use to do my actual Sony files, I use a program called Photo Mechanic, and with that I can grade them, I can mark put color code them, change the names, do all that, send out previews to clients, and you don't have to save it into a catalog. It can just sit in your file, you can go in there and you can sort all of that stuff out. So I do that, and then I'll do pretty much just drag a frame out of that, drag it over Photoshop, and then start working on it. So that's my workflow for my Sony. Like I said, now that we've got Capture One tethering, I will go a little bit more in and try and recreate my look in Capture One, but to date we haven't been able to do it.
Try very hard.
We try. I just find, and it's not downing them, it's, I find Capture One is very digital. And our digital cameras are too digital now. I love to have a little bit more rawness, a little bit more filmic. And I can break the picture a little bit more in ACR than I've been able to work out how to do in Capture One. So that's more, still it comes down that we have a look, and you might have an artist that only ever paints on canvas. Now you ask him to paint on stainless steel. He most likely would have trouble trying to recreate his look on a different textured background. It's a little bit like that. I've always said that the reason I was Hasselblad, even though Capture One did contact me many years ago and want me to swap with them, I had the camera for a month. The camera was beautiful, nothing wrong with it at all, but it wasn't my look. It was too digital. And for me, I want my photos a little bit more filmic. I purposely shoot natural light at 800 ISO to get a bit of grain, to get a bit of break. I do things to just take that nasty digital edge off a digital camera. I think the one thing that really stood out to me strong was we're in, I can't remember where it was. It might have been Amsterdam somewhere. There was a Peter Lindbergh exhibition on, and it was so beautiful to look at the film prints, and then you got to his later work and saw the digital. It just didn't have that soul. It felt too sharp. It didn't have the grains, and it was that soul and that de-sharpening, defocusing a picture that really kept me walking back to his film pictures rather than his digital pictures. So for a good year after I saw that exhibition, I worked really, really hard to try and get a film feel into my digital. Yeah, I know the easy way is to go shoot with film, but in this day and age, it's just not viable commercially. No client has got the time for that.
Yeah, Behringer from Coffs Harbour has actually come back saying that TAFE classes would love to see you there in Coffs Harbour, and they're going to contact us soon to discuss possibilities. So.
Yeah, cool.
Awesome.
We used to
shoot us an email.
We used to do a few of the country skills. We used to Canberra and places like that. Go up and spend a day with the students, completely destroy them, and then they would fail. So I'm just.
That'd be cool. I've never been to Coffs Harbour.
Sorry?
I've never been to Coffs Harbour.
Great fishing. Not that I fish anymore.
Can we eat seafood there?
You get yourself water, I'm going to get myself water.
Okay. I'll flick it over there.
Are you caught up with the questions?
Maybe. No, I'm not. Trying to get there though. Sorry guys, bear with me. Does that mean you're shooting tethered in ACR?
No. Can't tether to ACR, and tethering to Lightroom is a disaster. There's two ways. I don't know the names of programs, so I haven't looked at it, but back in the old days, you could get tethering software. And I think Sony has a tethering software. And what you can do, you can tether to a live file, which means you have all your images going into this folder in this file. Then you can use another program that is looking at that folder. It doesn't allow you to do something and then the next picture will come up with that change, but it does allow you to see them coming up onto your screen. If you just want to be able to see them coming up on the screen just to tweak things or to make it easier for clients to work with, yeah, Capture One. But then once I'd finished Capture One, I would I'd have all my captured folders taken out of their catalog with Capture One and then use it within this is for my workflow. Use it in my Photo Mechanic and then drag the pictures I need to edit out of Photo Mechanic into ACR. A lot of people will work everything within Capture One. That's fine. It's just not my workflow. It's not saying it's wrong.
Paul said this is looking good, and I agree, it looks sick.
Nah, it's got about another hour, and then come back tomorrow to finish it. But we'll just, people are getting the gist of it.
Yeah.
So basically, it's those layerings that I'm trying to get. So anything which is the last coat, which is stuff like that, see how it stands out really strong. But if we go back 3 or 4 layers, these sort of brush marks are starting to dissolve into the background. Like comparing with that one.
Yeah.
But there's no right or wrong. I see little things like, I really like what's happened up there.
I can't see that on this camera, let me.
That's right, but
you
I
go.
like something that's happening up the top area, so I'm going to reproduce a little bit of it somewhere down here, a little bit next,
Cool bananas.
which is a bit of black and a bit of white.
You speak frequently about how certain ACR tools will affect a print image but not a digital image. At what print size do these issues really start to show?
Badly start to show above about A3, you'll start to see stuff. Once you get to a metre or bigger, especially shop front windows, there's nothing worse. The worst thing you can ever do in the world is shoot this amazing shop front window, and then you go back, you walk past it a month or so after it's been up, and then you go, oh my God, I can see every healing brush mark. Because I couldn't see it on the screen, but now it's printed, I see these little out of focus circles everywhere. And this happened to me many years ago, and all it was me trying to get my retouching quicker. Guess what? High-end retouching is slow. Anything for high-end mags, Vogue cover could be 8 hours on retouching because they use things like micro dodging and burning and things like that. Steer away from healing and clone tools. Never use frequency separation for cleaning skin. And Beck had no idea what this frequency separation thing was.
Peter say it all the time.
No, absolutely none at all. All she heard was me going, yuck, 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 don't do it. And then finally one day she saw someone's work and I said, yeah, that's frequency separation. She goes, oh my God, that's disgusting. So even though it's quick and easy to clean up bad skin, yeah, once you go to try and print it, it's terrible.
It kind of looks bad in digital
with
as well.
all of that, on the internet you'll struggle to see a lot of it, although I still see frequency separation damage on the internet, but you won't see the edge of your lassos or whatever way you use the frequency separation. Once you print it, you will actually see the edges of your lassos, and I know, I did it and nearly died. I re-edited the picture, paid the cost to have it reprinted. The client was 100% happy with the first one, couldn't really see the difference of the second one, but they're also really happy that I did that for them because I couldn't stand looking at my dodgy bit of crap.
Have I ever been a member of Model Mayhem? Maybe like years and years ago, but not anymore. And I probably wouldn't really use. I think I was trying to find a model on there when we were traveling last year, and just I don't know. I found the quality to be not that good.
Model
so
Mayhem is better for art nude models.
Yeah.
A lot of the art nude models travel the world using that. For just everyday models, most likely Instagram is a better place.
Especially because I was trying to find models for workshops, and I was just like, this is totally not what I'm looking for.
Yeah, this model's very comfortable. She's happy to stand there butt naked, but she looks horrible.
Are you drinking coffee or whiskey?
I'm still on coffee. It's not 10 o'clock yet, otherwise it'd be on whiskey.
Yeah, it is. It's 11.
I'm stirring.
Oh.
Every time I run out to get water, I'm actually taking a slot. No, I'm not.
I was contemplating a wine before. I'm not an alcoholic, I swear.
Huh?
I said I was contemplating a wine before, and I swear I'm not an alcoholic. Troy said he's just here for the jokes, Peter, although your photography is not too bad either.
Just for the jokes. Oh, I saw a really good daddy joke and I forgot it. But anyway, you can keep asking questions.
Hey, Greg. Peter, have you seen the rock and roll photographs of Colin Beard from the 1960s? He was a founding photographer at Go Set magazine. This magazine gave Molly Meldrum his start.
I think so.
You think so?
Yeah, but see, because I'm back in that era, I was actually saw the very first Countdown show ever. I loved Molly Meldrum's work he did with Stevie Wright. So yeah, that's back in my era. And because I used to shoot a lot of bands, I'm really bad with names. Becca knows I'm absolutely terrible with names. So I bump into people and go, oh, I know you. People keep talking about your name. I didn't know who you were talking about, but now I've met you, I know who you are.
He's horrible at names.
Anything with letters in it. This is getting good. You've got a great...
You should put this wall up for auction.
Put me wall up for auctions. Hey, you look the good, seriously, the really good. Forget about these backdrop companies, especially the ones that say they're hand painted. How can they be hand painted one-offs if you can buy 10 with the exact same print? They're printed, might be hand painted the first time, but now they're screen printed or whatever. They're really, really good backdrops, and it's like the people, like your Patrick Dumichelia, Peter Lindbergh, all them, they would have their canvas. And their canvas would cost $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. But nobody else in the world had that canvas. It was custom made for that photographer. Most of the really, really good studios, well, the studios with longevity, have got a famous wall or a staircase or a foyer. There'll be something that only that studio has, and nearly every photographer uses it. And our grunge wall over there and our concrete wall over there are our two little things. Yeah. So it's really important. This could be a canvas. You could just grab one of these drop sheets and paint this on a drop sheet and make your own canvas. And then it's unique to you. Nobody else can ever have that exact look, and you can build on it over time. When you start to say, oh, I don't like what I did there, you can just go layer upon layer and build it.
Builds it.
That's it.
Build it.
This is getting better.
Oh, Paul Rogers is here. Hi, Paul.
Hi, Paul. Oh, yeah, what did he send me? Yeah, I saw what you said, but I'm not spending no money at the moment. Unfortunately, I think it's worldwide. There's a few photographers and studios going under, so there's a fair few fire sales of gear. As much as there's some really nice gear, Beck already knows I've got more gear than I know what to do with anyway. But thanks for, sorry, I meant to answer you the other day, but got petered. Beck interrupted me and I couldn't answer you. She said I wasn't allowed to talk to you anymore.
Lucas asked if you can do a film session. Thanks for the Polaroids and your answer. Problem with a film session is... How
do I show you the photos?
Yeah, we wouldn't be able to show, so we'd have...
Well, we'd have to have them exposed.
Yeah, we couldn't do it live. It would have to be like taking the photos and then go get them developed and then...
At the end of the day, the film session, the only difference is I'm only going to shoot maybe 24 or 36 frames only. Everything else I do is identical to what I'm doing digitally. I will set up all my lighting. Instead of taking lots of pictures, I will set up my lighting much closer to what I can, just using my light meters a little bit like I used to. And then once I've got it set up, take a Polaroid shot, look at the picture, then shoot. So I don't think you're going to see any major difference to how I work now. And Beck's seen me shoot film, it's no different, is it? It's instead of it going to a computer, it's going to a box on the back of the camera. And my other problem now is, because Hasselblad haven't continued with the Imicon scanners, all their software now is out of date to any Apple operating system, which means you have to have an old camera system to be able to run the software, so I can actually flatbed scan the shots. And once you've done flatbed scanning, it's really, really hard to go, drum scanning, sorry, not flatbed, drum scanning. It's really hard to go back to flatbed scanning. Do you know if Anne's still watching us? Or she got bored
I'm not
with
too sure. She hasn't said anything.
And if you're still watching us, our bunny shoot I did on film I'm going to do it 2 meters high, unretouched, just the actual film strips, because they look so amazing.
That's cool.
So I'm not even going to take them into Photoshop, they're just going to be the actual scans straight off.
Oh, that reminds me, I think someone asked, I should probably turn this back to me.
Someone asked
really early on, and I totally missed it. I'm really sorry. They asked what type of paint you're using, and it is...
it's all different brands.
All different brands, mostly Dulux though.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. It's mainly matte or flat.
Okay.
There might be the odd can that might be low sheen, but I don't even like low sheen, so I pretty much use matte or flat.
Cameron has missed us so much for the last month. Sorry, we've been a little bit quiet. We've just been really busy catching up on work. It's also been hard because not many models don't want to leave their house at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's...
And that music video took a week of my time, and still got another full week of editing for the second music video. So things like...
A bit slammed.
It's not like we're working any less. I've hardly been on my sim. I've been working so hard, and that sucks.
But he's loving seeing this, especially since he's painting himself at the moment. And
he's painting himself?
Bad jokes. And
is it bourbon?
Tried using some Dulux concrete effect paint. So perfect timing.
Hey, what's really cool to use is there's some paints that go like rust. Get some of them. They look. In fact, we should do a rust wall.
Ooh, how fancy!
I might do a rust wall.
Paul said he's loving his Beck t-shirt. Oh.
He's loving his Beck t-shirt. What about his wife? Is she loving his Beck t-shirt?
Oh my gosh!
Let's get a little bit of that up there.
Beck's not old enough to know MySpace. Yes, I am. I was the queen of MySpace in Melbourne.
Queen.
I loved MySpace. I know I look really young, but I'm actually 27, so I'm actually kind of old. But yeah, I loved MySpace. I miss MySpace. We should bring it back.
She still cries when she sees the stuff that she used to do on MySpace. She was such an emo. My God. If
you guys go to my Instagram, a few posts ago, I put up a whole bunch of old emo photos that I used to have on MySpace, if you want to laugh at how my stupid hair used to
She was so emo.
So good. Do you have your LUTs available, Peter?
I haven't made them available for anyone because I'm still playing myself. I did a really nice LUT on Julia's latest. I only put up a black and white version of the picture. I did a colour version for her with a LUT that I built in Final Cut Pro. There's a couple of, in fact, a lot of the colour pictures you've seen of Beck, most of them have LUTs on them because if I am shooting colour, I want it to have a cinematography feel to the colouring. I'm just over colour, so I want it to feel a little bit more like some of the colourings in the movies I like. Ryan Gosling in Drive, I love the colouring in that. Black Hawk Down, I love that desaturated colouring. Tarantino's latest movie, I adore the colouring in that. So I'm starting, when I do colour pictures, I'm starting to enjoy doing the LUT work, but like I said, I don't feel that I've found my place yet. I think I still need to work on it a bit more for a look to start developing. You can't just do something and then one day later, here's this incredible new look. It needs to evolve, and it's no different to these walls. You see, I stop, come back a little bit, do something, and working with LUTs and working with colours and even working in toning black and white photos, it's the same thing. It's something you need to build up over time for it to give to let some of your personality come out within the actual LUT. But I'm happy once I'm in a place that with the LUTs to do a tutorial on it. But again, I'm going to say to you, why would you want to put my look on your pictures? It's not yours. You should be developing your own LUT, which is your look. Now there's lots of LUT packs you can buy. So there's heaps and heaps of places you can buy LUTs. Is that going to fit in there? It is. And really, really good LUTs. But the problem is, again, that is somebody else's look. You might say, oh, I love that look, that's fine. But when you can't just put that LUT on every picture, you've got to fine tune it to suit each picture. And if you didn't develop the LUT in the first place, it's a bit hard for you to fine tune the LUT because you don't understand the LUT that was created for you. And I'm just LUTting about now.
Are you going to paint the other wall the same or with something different?
No, this will be the same, but I'm going to go, that's going to go darker to lighter. It's going to have a little bit more contrast. And then there's a black, pitch black one here, which is just going to have smudging on it. And scratches and smudging. I still want to keep a little bit more like the black wall that we use all the time. But there's a texture, we're using the ply. The other walls we use are, what's it called, MDF, so it's very smooth.
Right.
Whereas these walls have got a texture, which means the paint grabs and sits into the cracks, nooks and crannies and things.
Now, the students at the cost tape are watching as a class group. That's
As
so
a
cool.
class. Well,
That's
where's
so
their
cool.
photographic questions? Come on, guys. Like,
Peter, do you ever retouch eyes? You don't remember, Eric doesn't remember seeing it, but that doesn't mean he missed it in the Paloma tutorial.
not really. I hate those marble-looking eyes that people do. There's a Russian photographer and there's a guy from America who do it, and they make them look like marbles, and it doesn't look real. It takes the emotion out of the eye. You've replaced.
But they look nice and shiny.
Nice and shiny. They don't look real. They look like aliens. Like, they're cool. I do, I find that cool alien-looking eyes cool, but I like to photograph people to capture their soul, not put something else onto them.
Yeah.
And those really deep blue eyes they do look crap in black and white because there's no blue there. Yeah. You just got it. But I do a tiny bit of, if I'm going to do anything to eyes, I will fix eye makeup by bad makeup artists. So I'll tend to dodge and burn around the eyes a little bit to get the sockets to work properly, because so many makeup artists have not been trained properly about eyes. They don't frame the eye properly. And the other thing is just using a very, very slight up curve, just the mid-tones. If I find that the eyes just need a slight punch, I might put a 10% of a mid-tone punch in the middle of it. It's not turning the white white, it's just making the grey of the eye a little bit lighter, which gives a little bit more pop. But as soon as I can see that I've done something to the eyes, it's too far. So I have done it a few times. I thought, there's something not working. I'll turn off that layer and go, yeah, I've destroyed the eyes with that layer, so I turned it off. Oh, she's run away.
No, there was a question Robert wanted to know. He said, you can be honest because we're all family here. Is there a question you're getting tired of answering?
There's questions Beck get tired of answering.
Yeah.
She's forever whinging. Can you do a tutorial on ACR, on Capture One? Why do I shoot black and white would be one I'm tired of answering.
Yeah.
Because I love it. Nobody asks, you never hear people ask Helmut Newton, Peter Lindbergh, Avedon. All those people are predominantly 70, 80% of their work was black and white. But now with digital, it seems to be asked a lot. I just love black and white. It brings the soul out. It takes color, which is a distraction, and allows the soul of the picture and the soul of the person come out. It also becomes timeless. You cannot tell when that picture was taken because it doesn't have a color theme to it, which is, and you look now, just have a look at pictures that were done in 2000, 2005, 2010, 2015. There's all these different, nearly like filter type looks that everybody's using. So it starts to color stamp or date stamp your photography. And I don't particularly want my photography to be date stamped.
Yes. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that you get asked a lot, but I think that's...
Why don't I shoot men?
Yeah, I was thinking that one.
I do shoot them commercial all the time. I don't shoot them for my own work because men suck. They can't give me their soul. They can't let go. They're too hung up. And I'm a male. And it's just that we're never really happy. And I've had it happen time and again. I've taken what I thought was a great photo and then the model has gone, oh, what about my eyebrow? Can we do it again? Like, sorry, the eyebrow means nothing in the picture. It's the soul of the picture that meant, and the men don't seem to see that. I love shooting men for a reason, like guys in bands, guys with a story. I'm hoping to shoot with David Bromley, do his portraiture soon. I'm really looking forward to that. Beck seen me shoot men commercially, like doing that stuff for the wine, it was wine labels, that's why Beck was excited. Yeah. We're shooting some old guys for wine labels. That was really fun to try and get this old weathered look out of someone who'd worked all their life in an office.
It made me miss my grandpa.
Made you miss your grandma?
Grandpa.
Oh, grandpa. I was going to say, did your grandma look like a man?
No.
Questions like how to make it this day and age, if there was an easy way, everybody would be doing it. You've just got, I really feel that if you want to make it as a photographer, you just have to have your style, shoot a lot and show the world and let the world judge you. And if you shoot enough, you'll get a style and there'll be a percentage of the world that'll like you and you should be able to make a living. If you listen to camera clubs and to YouTubes like this, or you listen to anybody else that's changing the way you take photos from what you love, you're just going to end up in that same group of people that all, like studios are shutting. Like I know of 5 studios now that have shut down because of this. And 3 of the studios shut like in around March 28th before any major shutdown happened. Their business was already on the brink of not working. And they just said, oh, it's too easy, let's just shut now.
That's sad. Regarding taking tethered images to Photo Mechanic, George assumes with the Sony, are you shooting with files going to the computer as well as the camera?
No. No, whenever, I haven't played around with that, but all my cameras, wherever I tether to, that's where the file goes. So it doesn't go to camera and, well, you might be able to set it up that way, but I've never done it. So maybe, I don't know, I grew up in the film age where I was somewhere sometime we shot something and it was a world record fish that had been caught, and I've shot it and got these amazing images of it. Then we got the roll of film out, we put it in an envelope and we posted it halfway across the world to the magazine. There's no backups, and we were brought up that way. And now with everyone wanting 2 card slots because I need to back up, just buy good quality cards. If we had a card die in the time, touch wood, you've been here?
No.
No. And we shoot shitloads.
Yeah.
So it's, if you buy good quality gear and look after your gear, your cards and that don't just die. Hard drives only die when you drop them in LA in a rush to get to New York. And even then it didn't die.
It's dead now. After we got those files off, I've tried to fire it up, but it won't fire up again.
I said to Beck, what did you just drop? She goes, oh, nothing. I said, oh, thank God, because hard drives hate being dropped, and there's a hard drive sitting on the floor.
Sad day.
And then she cried the whole way to LA, to New York, because it was all her MySpace pictures.
I didn't cry because we got upgraded to business class.
Oh, that's right, we got upgraded to business.
That was such a bittersweet day.
You thought you were in cattle class on that flight and you got upgraded.
It was such a bittersweet day.
Wines.
Anyway.
Yeah, that was the day that Peter Lindbergh died.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was a surreal, weird day.
It was such a weird day.
Going to New York, so happy about going to New York.
But then so sad about other things.
While we're in the Uber, a model sent me a text message saying, I didn't get the message at first. I had to send a message back, but then I realised PL, and Beck goes, Peter Lindbergh just died, and yeah, that wrecked my flight.
Tony wants to know if we can do a recap for those who have tuned in late. So yeah, basically we...
Yeah, my name's Peter,
No,
this is Beck.
Basically, if you've seen Peter's other videos, you'll see that he's got these L-shaped walls around the studio that are on wheels, so we can move them anywhere we want. And people have been asking about the grunge wall, which we also have. So decided to cram both L-wall and grunge into one. A tutorial will be going up probably next week of how we built this wall, and now he's just layering it up to get that same grungy effect.
Yeah, well, so this will take me a fair bit of time to get it to how I actually want it. So once we finish this stream, I'll most likely let this set and then come back on the weekend and do a little bit of wash over the top of it. But I might just set up a stop frame, and then I can add that as a prequel. No, that's a pre. We'll have the prequel and we can have a
sequel.
Encore.
An
encore of finishing off this wall. But this is, you're getting the gist of it. It's just a matter of keep layering, and the more you layer, if you make a mistake, just layer up over it. So these brush marks here are annoying me a little bit, but all I'm doing is just slowly layering over it and breaking those brush strokes down. I'm not really happy there yet, but that I just need to do something different, and I think I might just do...
Now you've got a t-shirt. How interesting.
That's going to set a lighter background to that area.
Have you used the flash setting on your Rotolight Neo 2?
Sorry?
Have you used the flash setting on your Rotolight?
Nah, yuck. No. I don't think.
You just use it as a constant?
I only ever used it as a constant. We've got another light to play with that we'll do a YouTube. In fact, I didn't want to do reviews, but there's some really cool gear that we get thrown from time to time to have a play with, and this looks really cool, so we're just going to do a shoot with it. So it's sort of like a review, but it's not. We're going to use it for something. We'll basically say, did this get our look we wanted or not?
Did it work?
Did it work? But it's a pretty cool looking thing. It's another constant. I don't think it flashes, but it's an RGB light. And yeah, it looked really cool what I saw of it. So
the stuff that Peter's spraying the bottle, yes it is, Lucas answered it is water. So is it water soluble paint, Peter?
Yeah, these are all water-based paints.
Yeah. So that's how we get the drippy effect.
Yeah.
Hello, Stephen in LA. Hope you are okay over there. It looks pretty scary in America at the moment. What lens do you like to use in most of your sessions?
So using different cameras, you're always going to have your favourite lenses and have a look. And I will tend to use the lens that's going to give me the look I'm after. So on my Sony, there's two lenses I really, really like. I used to love these are super expensive lenses, I can't help it. But it's like if you're going to drive a racing car, you're not going to say a Hyundai is your favourite car to drive in the world. You're going to say something like a Ferrari or a Porsche or something. Well, it's the same with the lenses. My old favourites used to be the Otis 85 from Zeiss, and they have a 135, I think it's a Discon or something. It's the same as the Milvus 135 f2. Love the feel I get out of both those lenses, but since I got the 100 f1.4 Otis, absolutely adore that because I can shoot it for bokeh, but then I can shoot it and defocus it. So if I shoot around 5.6 to f8, I can defocus off enough that the picture still feels sharp but the skin softens, so it gives that like filmic type of look. On my Hasselblad, I shoot with my 100 a lot, but with my choice, my 150 most likely gives me my favorite look out of my Hasselblad. I just don't use it as much as my 100. I have a lens to play with the X, so Hasselblad's 135 for the X. So I'm going to play with that, and I'm nearly certain I'm going to love that lens. Then I've got my little friggin' nickel-plated Zeiss lenses, which I absolutely adore, but they're more wide angle. They're more my 50 and 35. It's more from the street fashion. I'll do a little bit of portraiture type work of that, but it's more like street portraiture. It's not something I'll do more in the studio. It's more capturing the environment into the picture.
Right.
Next, the guys in Coffs Harbour, if you're not going to ask...
I'm falling behind on questions, so I don't know if they maybe have at the bottom.
Well, you have a look while I ask them a question. So you're not asking me a question, so I'm going to ask you a question. And you can just share this with the whole room. How are you going to make a living out of your photography? When you finish this course, there's no magic job just going to appear. Have you thought how you are going to become a photographer and make money out of it? Because it's really important that you do. I can't give you the answer, there's no easy answer, but it's something you need to think about, and schools should be teaching you about exposure, all those technical things, but you need to come up with your creativeness that's going to make you stand out from everybody else and make companies want to come up to Central Coast or Coffs Harbour and book someone rather than just use someone who's based in Melbourne or Sydney.
Is Peter still using focus? Yes, he is.
Yes. And I've been talking a little bit with Hasselblad, and there's some nice little things coming, and I did say to them the other day that they're crazy. They need to make focus for all cameras and sell it because it's by far the best raw tethering program. Hopefully someone will listen to me in Hasselblad. When Perry was there, Perry was going to do it, but he's not there anymore, unfortunately.
Oh, I pushed the wrong button, that's why it went so suddenly. Gabrielle said the rust look drives them nuts.
Drives them nuts?
Yeah.
Oh, they're over it?
I think so, yeah.
See, black and white looks great.
Ah, interesting.
See, I wouldn't do it in colour, I'd be doing it black and white, but that's just me.
Yeah, but apparently it is pretty easy to have it look contrived.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got one of my neighbours, a professional painter, not as in painting portraits, as in painting houses. And he has to do stuff like marble effects and rust and stuff like that. And he normally says when he's doing it, he grabs 2 or 3 different brands of the same product because they tend to clash and you get that non-contrived look. But I've seen one of his marble walls and you'd swear it was real marble, even up close. He does it so well, but it's like nearly French polished. It's got layers on it, it's got depth into it.
Layers. The Otis's rightly priced, and are they the best ones for what they do? Do you reckon there's any alternatives?
Well, the next one back from then is your top of the range lenses from each of the camera manufacturers. Sony make great lenses, their Gs are awesome. You've got your Art series from Sigma. Beautiful lens. Both Canon and Nikon make beautiful high-end lenses. So yeah, that's the next step down. With Zeiss, they are a lens company only, so they specialise in making glass, and their glass has a feel, especially certain different brands of Zeiss lenses have certain feels. One of the Milvus range is a pretty good range, and it's not stupidly expensive. But a lot of these are manual focus lenses, and if you can't cope with manual focus, especially on a Canon or a Nikon mirrored DSLR camera, sometimes shooting down shallow and low light, it's near impossible to get your focus right. You just can't see. You do this, you cannot see any difference. That's where on a mirrorless camera they really come into their own, because you can have your magnifying thing happen, so it zooms in and you can see your focusing, or you can put on your peakings, which will show you what's in focus and what's out of focus. When it comes to the autofocus lenses, there's not a lot that Zeiss do. Their Batis are really good, and we use Batis a lot. I think this camera right here has a Batis on it now. Really, we use them a lot with our videoing. And if something I've started doing in the last year, I've already spoken about this before, but watching some behind the scenes videos of a few photographers, seeing what they're doing with just using continuous focusing on eye detect. It goes against my growing up shooting film, because we would never shoot with motor drive and film, and we'd just be there and capture the moment. But I have actually found that it's giving me this nice little bonus that I can go there, capture the moment and capture the next 3 frames afterwards. And in those next 3 frames afterwards, there was a frame I would have never have got. There's also lots of frames that, yeah, they were shit, and I've got to I delete more now when I'm doing that. But with that type of thing, that's where the autofocus and the lenses that work nice on those cameras, that they've got those nice bursts, work really well. It really comes down to you go out and test drive 10 different cars, you're going to have a car that you love. If you look at all the comments by the reviewers, they hate that car, but you actually found this was the car I liked the most. Lenses are the same. I know it's a little bit hard to test drive lenses, but I don't know, if you've got a camera store that you do all your work with, unless it's someone like B&H, but I think B&H hires stuff like that out. I know there's a dozen camera stores I can walk in and say, hey, can I just walk around the block with this lens and give it a play? And then I'll go home and then look at those files in my own time, and I'll have made my decision, do I like the feel of the focusing of the lens? And then after that, I just concentrate on the actual pictures. Do I like the vignette the lens has, or do I like the bokeh? Whatever reason for why I would buy that lens. But right this moment now, I don't actually have any lens lust. I don't have anything on a wish list. There's a camera I want that friggin' Sony a7S III so bad, even though I just need a next level of video. As a stills camera, I'd love a Hasselblad 40 megapixel full size sensor on a mirrorless that works like a Sony. That would be absolutely to die for. But yeah, other than that, I'm happy with my gear. I've digressed again.
Jumping back from lenses, when working with models, how much time do you spend together to communicate? I should flick it over to that one. To communicate / inspiration of what you want to do, and how much input do they have in that idea board?
The models have a lot of input into what we're going to shoot.
Yeah.
So Beck knows herself, she's seen it every single time they come in, that they go through a folder with thousands of, I think it's got about 4,000 images in, and pick out what they feel like doing. Now they're just picking out the mood. They're not, don't copy, we'll pick out the mood of the picture. And then there's just a progression of, from what we've picked out to then making it mine, which just, what it just means that I will do things to it, and it might just be lighting, it might be styling, which makes it more mine. We only ever work to a model's comfort zone, and the model has a lot of say in what we're creating, because they're uncomfortable. I'm not going to get a picture. It's just a waste of time. Might as well not even be shooting. So I really, really need my models to be comfortable for me to be able to create something. There's models I've worked with that they're on a different planet than my mind, which is fine. I just don't tend to shoot with them, because what they want is not really what I want in a photo. And it's normally, they're after that really fake, Insta-y type of look, or they might even be a little bit men magazine-y in the type of stuff they like, and it's really not what I like. So with that, there'll be models that, some of them I find as a challenge, and try and convert them to my way of seeing how they should be photographed. But in the end, Beck's seen it that you can't change some people, can you?
No.
You can look there and go, they would look so much better if they stopped trying to do that men magazine-y stuff and just more did sexy for women.
Yeah.
But did I answer his question?
I think so.
You think so?
Yes. How do you go about finding inspiration in making something different within your look of photography?
I used to have a couple of sites I used to look at a lot, which would inspire me to go out and create stuff. And it wasn't like I'd see something and want to copy it. It just, I would always go, oh, wow, wow, wow. And they were pictures that would go into my inspiration boards just for how different this is, how cool is this. Really, since the fashion industry has started to get politically correct, well, it was never incorrect, but to appease these minority groups that feel that their view is what the whole world has to live by. And then sites like Tumblr that used to have amazing, I used to have 30 or 40 different people I followed on Tumblr that used to collect the best high-end fashion shots you would never see in magazines, and they were really, really cool. And as soon as Tumblr changed to a G-rated piece of crap, they lost all the soul.
Tell me what you really think, Peter.
Sorry?
Tell me what you really think.
They just lost its soul. Sorry, nudity does not mean sex, especially when it's been taken for fashion magazines for women to look at. Not for men. Men don't buy Numero, they don't buy ID, they don't buy Italian Vogue, so it is only for women. And it's like the women who got rid of the grid girls in F1. They just, 5,000 girls just lost their dream job. So they didn't affect men, they affected women. They took women's jobs off them. And I know a lot of women that absolutely love that promo girl, the chance to be on a pit road and then maybe have a celebrity walk up and they get a picture taken with either a celebrity like one of the racing car drivers, or it might be someone like Arnie Schwarzenegger or Tom Cruise or somebody else who's at the Grand Prix. They live for that shit, they get paid for it, nobody's forcing them to do it, but they've now lost their jobs because some politically correct pen pusher has decided you're degrading women. And that's what's happening in the fashion industry, but it's not degrading women because women love looking at women's bodies. Don't they, Beck?
Yes.
Yes. I'll get off my high horse. But yeah, it's really hard for me to get inspired. That's looking real cool, what's doing on this. Really inspired off the internet anymore. I'm getting inspired a little bit from movies. And they're normally messed up. Or movies that most people wouldn't watch because they're too slow. But the slower the movie is, the more time it gives you to think. And that time has given me some really cool visions for lighting or visions of moods to pictures. This is starting to come together really cool.
Yeah, it looks really sick.
Looks really sick?
Yes. Simon said if you come to Cox, he will organise some fishing for you.
I fished from the age of 4. I actually gave up fishing, so I loved it, but I've done it too long and I'm gone soft. All lives matter, even fishers' lives.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. No, I just got over because when you work in that industry and you're on boats with some of the best fishermen in the world, you learn how that fishing is really easy. So the fun of tricking a fish to eat a bit of fur and feather starts to go, and then once you hook 100 fish a day and you know that 50% of them that you return back to the ocean got eaten by predatory fish because they've gone back sick. I just got over it. I got soft. I don't know how I got soft, but I did. And my son-in-law absolutely hates me because he's just discovered fishing and he wants somebody to take him out and teach him how to fish.
And you won't.
Nah.
Photo question, do you use a polarized filter when shooting over water? Do you increase the f-stop if using a polarizer?
So I didn't hear a word you said.
Oh, okay. Do you use a polarized filter when shooting over water? Do you increase the f-stop if using a polarizer?
I used to use circular polarized filters all the time when I was shooting in the fishing industry, all the time. I still have one or two, I can't remember the last time I ever used it. I actually, with shooting fashion and shooting the stuff I do, I actually rather get the glare off the water. It adds, that's what you would see with your real eyes. The polarized filter is not showing what you would see with your real eyes, it's more letting you see through where would be glare. So I don't tend to use a polarized filter. I've used it a bit now and then, but as a rule, I don't tend to use it anymore. But when I was shooting if I'm shooting for fishing or doing landscape and stuff like that, definitely 100, to make your blue skies go with that really rich blue, all of those things, yeah, it's really, really handy, but it's not something I really do. Look, most of my photography is either my real photography, which I haven't had time to do for a while, is shooting messed up stuff that makes me make you think. And then there's capturing people's souls is my second most favourite thing to do. So the landscapes and all that thing really is very little to do with my photos. It's more about the story I'm telling or the person I'm shooting.
Robert said Lindbergh would say the same thing about shooting men.
Would he? I haven't actually heard Helmut Newton used to like shooting men.
Interesting.
But like that, it's not like there's a website, I think it's still going, it's called Homotography. Some of the best men photography I've ever seen in the world, absolutely incredible. Their skin tones, the grey tones and that they get, and if I want to get a bit of inspiration about light or lighting skin, that site I find amazing. But just my experience of shooting men, I just find they're difficult, they're soulless, it's really hard to get them to give you that little special thing in a shot. Except dancers, love shooting male dancers.
How long did it take before you were happy with the development of your photographer's eye?
A long time. I only really got happy with my photos in the last, or happy enough to wear them as t-shirts or put them in pictures in my own house for me to look at, say in the last 10 years. It took a long time. I kept looking at my work and looking at work like of Peter Lindbergh or Helmut Newton and those people and just saying I'm so far off what I want to be. Now I can look at them and go, I love Peter Lindbergh's and I like mine as much because I know the story behind mine, which makes up for the difference between the amount of years he's been doing it compared to me. But yeah, I started to get much happier with my photography in the last 10 years because I actually enjoy, because I can look into the eyes of the model and just see that, I know the model and see these expressions that nobody else would ever get to see.
Question for me, what Australian wines do I recommend?
Anything that's red, white or blue.
There's a really nice wine from Western Australia called Vas Felix, which is amazing. I went to their winery last year and it was really good. I've also been drinking a wine called 19 Crimes a lot recently. It's me and my boyfriend's current favourites. That's a really good one. But yeah, no, I like most things, like in general. But no, the Western Australia, like Margaret River wines are really good. Anything from Margaret River, I recommend.
And you tend to go for more your Shiraz Cabs.
Yeah, I normally go for like a more
so
full-bodied,
much
not
Pinots
really
or
Pinot.
Merlots.
I like my full-bodied wines. Anyway, enough about wine. Damn, I want a wine now.
Yeah, you can ask Beck questions. In fact, that'd be good to get her questions. I can ask her questions too.
George set up a shoot one time to copy the computer and camera, and apparently it was awful. It was slow and crashed a number of times. So, photo mechanic.
Photo mechanic you can't tether.
Oh, to copy, so to save the thing to both the camera and the...
Oh, he did it for that, yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be the whatever he used to capture the picture will be the problem. So if he used Lightroom to capture, it's extremely slow. There was, I think, I'm certain, if I don't know what camera he's using, but I know that Sony has a capturing software, which, like Canon has a capturing software, and they do run very, very quick, well, they used to. And you could set up that Ghost one using one of their programs. I think it's in Sony Catalyst or something like that. I can't, Canon's, well, since it's so long since, I don't know if Canon's still doing it, but they had a program on the Canon which you could just capture to a folder, and then you could use another folder to look in at that in a photo program.
Oh, why is that off? Oh, because I've clicked it to the wrong camera.
What are you doing?
Just becking about.
You're becking about.
If PCG focuses photos with Otis lens to make it less sharp, then what's the point of having a super expensive Otis? Not being snarky, just wondering what the other qualities of it are.
That's the quality. It allows me to pull a fraction of focus off. And it still feels razor sharp.
Right.
And the fall off will give me that look. If I used a cheaper lens, if I pull it off focus, it just looks blur.
Oh, PC's you. I was getting confused. I thought he meant like a PC, like a computer.
No, I think he means like Peter Coulson.
Yeah, I just figured that out.
Gee, you're quick today. You haven't had wine, that's why.
I know.
Yeah, look, some people have said to me a few times, why would I shoot with Hasselblad and defocus it? Why would I shoot with Otis? And I'm certain Zeiss would hate the fact that I defocus on purpose, but we've done it a few times on our live streams and our Inspire tutorials where we've said to the model, do you want razor sharp skin? And every model says, nope. And in the old days, they used to put Vaseline on lenses. They used to put stockings over them. They used to do anything to soften it off.
All you need to do is log into Instagram and see that you can't have a pore. Like you then blur to themselves, like Facetune out every single pore.
So a lot of this stuff is, a better quality lens gives me more control over the focusing of it. I don't want, for most of my work, I don't want that razor sharp on the skin. So by me pulling the focus forward, I might end up with the razor sharp on their eyebrow, but it falls off by the time it gets to their cheek. So the picture still feels like it's sharp in focus, but it's not onto the skin area. And especially the Otis, I can shoot corner to corner, no vignetting, razor sharp, at fully wide open 1.4, which means I can have the eyebrows sharp in focus at 1.4, and I'm not going to get sort of like a vignetting off of the focus. Hope that helps. But I know it's hard to understand, but it's, if you apply it to other things, that you can have something really high quality, but you don't have to use it to, you can still get the benefits when you're not using it at that highest quality. If that
Stephen, who we met in LA last year, said that you are awesome and that you helped him elevate his game and truly helped him become a commercial photographer.
How did I do that?
He came to a workshop.
Oh, is that it?
And I guess that helped. I guess maybe
No,
your
I didn't know if
wisdom?
there was something
I don't know. I don't know. We'll wait for his
answer. It's good to
answer.
hear, but I think most of the people that I have spent a bit of time with who are trying to make photography their career, I think the more they understand what I'm saying about just getting a style, because if you're just a photocopier and you can do anything, you're only going to win work based on price, which means you're going to be a bottom feeder. It's all about the price. You're never going to be able to afford really good, well, if you can do it really efficiently, yeah. But most of the guys I know of bottom feeders are incredible photographers, but there's no soul in their photos. They can light anything, they can get any feel, but they don't have their own feel. Whereas I look at all of the photographers that are able to charge full rate. Even myself, we have plenty of clients say, oh, such and such will do it for this rate, and we just say, well, that's not our rate, this is our rate, and we're not going to budge on it because such and such doesn't get my look. He can try and get my look, but he hasn't got my eyes to get my look. And the amount of people do get that, book that person based on price and then come back, can we really get you to shoot it now, but now we've spent all our money, so can you do it even cheaper? I said, no, that's your fault for making that decision. Every now and then I say yes, I shouldn't.
Brendan in Coffs Harbour said that they do concentrate on developing an individual style.
Awesome. They've got good teachers then, because that is so important, especially somewhere like Coffs Harbour. There's only going to be so many wedding portrait photographers that can work out of Coffs Harbour. But if you can take incredible art, it can be published anywhere around the world and you can make a living. And we have an artist in Australia who can't get on a plane, can't get on a boat. He's bound to Australia just because of who he is. He's mentally can't get on planes and boats. And he's built a massive career around the world. And he just does that from Australia.
Yes.
Cool. You fallen behind, or is everyone gone away?
People are answering your question about what their plan is. So I'm just reading people's answers, which is really nice. It's really nice to...
I don't think it's commercially, you really do have to have...
I'm glad that kind of sparked a bit of thought in everyone.
Well, you have to have a point of difference.
Yeah.
It's, if someone else came out to be another Justin Bieber, they're never going to be as big as Justin Bieber. Already nailed that. You need to be the new thing, and that's how you're going to get there. And it doesn't matter if we're selling backdrops or taking photos or whatever. If we don't want to have to get into a price war with people, we do have to have our own look that we understand, because it's our own emotions, our own eyes. And you see me now slowing down, looking a lot. And I can't teach you this part because this is what my eyes are saying. I look at it and
brain.
I'm waiting for my eyes to say, that looks shit, fix that. And I'm just basically feeling out, I'm defocusing my eyes a bit at the same time. Some of the areas that really bugged me at the start aren't, but some of the areas that I've done now are bugging me more. So I'm just going to work on that. I know I harp on this, but the most famous of any of the arts people in the world just do what they do. And it's so important that you realise that there is no magic. If there was a magic way of doing it, we'd all be millionaires. Or we wouldn't, nobody would be a millionaire because it'd be the same crap. It's no different to some of these gamers. I sort of been listening to some of this stuff recently. There's these gamers out there that are just putting Twitch channels or YouTube channels up, earning $2 and $3 million a year playing frigging games. Like, how stupid is that?
I can't see what you're doing because the ladder's in the way.
Oh, sorry. You just wanted to show everyone your muscles. Oh, they're going.
I know, it's
They've actually grown a little bit.
All the heavy stuff you make me lift. Where was I? What is your favourite focal length? Mark's been wanting Sony to fill the 100/105 gap for the longest time.
I would say the focal length I work around the most is between 135 to 80. So around that sort of zone. The favourite lenses are sitting around that 100 to 85-ish. And I do love my 135 sort of length as well. So my 100 on my Hasselblad's going to come out around about an 80. My 150 on the Hasselblad's coming out about 135. And I love my 100mm and my 85mm on my Sony. So yeah, that would most likely be my favourite. I do like playing with super long lenses, like a 400 at 2.8, but that's not really a lens I'd use a lot, because even though you get this surreal bokeh and fall off, it gets a little bit samey and boring. So I find that look works every now and then, but if you do it too much, your picture just tends to have that as its soul and nothing else.
You thinkins.
Yes.
You deep in thought.
I think this has come up good.
I should turn on this.
Okay.
Photo question for me.
Photo question for you.
No, just a question for me, so I'll flick to my camera. Darren wants to know if I have a calendar with my photos for sale or would I think about making one. Actually, probably could. I haven't thought about it, but I could do that. I can make a Beck calendar.
And would you put it up on your Patreon site?
I don't have a Patreon. But yeah, I could do that. That'd be cool. Maybe we can make a 2021 Beck calendar. I'm sure Peter's got enough photos of me.
Not using my photos.
But they're nice.
You got to use selfies.
No.
Yeah. Beck selfies calendar.
Oh my god.
We were going to do a calendar maybe for next year, weren't we?
I think so, yeah.
We did one a couple of years ago with Hasselblad, and that was fun and enjoyable. So
I think we should do one.
I don't know if I can get 12 good pictures of you though, so we might have to just do it as a 2 month per page.
I think we could. We could even do different calendars of different models, like models that you shoot a lot.
Oh,
Ideas.
so you can compare it and say mine's the best.
No, I'm not like that. You make me sound so horrible.
I know, it's fun.
Are you talking about F1? I think you were before, probably.
Sorry?
I think you were talking about racing cars before.
Yeah. Yeah, something that doesn't exist at the moment. I think I'm at that point where I can let that dry.
You upset someone because you were complaining about minorities and women ruining your privileged world. So they left. I think that was the message you were trying to get across, but.
Oh, so I upset them, so they said they're leaving.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine because I don't.
Apparently, MotoGP still has the race girls. Yeah, this is where.
Sorry, MotoGP does. So yes, quite a few do. I just feel that if it's legal and a woman wants to be a grid girl, what right has some feminazi to say you're not allowed to do what you love? So I get really annoyed because I know lots and lots of people that is their life. That whole promo grid is what they do. That's what they want to do.
Another question for me, what is the best way for new photographers who may not have a portfolio or a developed one to approach models to work with them?
I would answer if I heard it.
Yeah, it's really hard if you don't have a portfolio, but I guess my general answer is if you're at this level, you've got to approach someone who's at the same level with you. Once you approach a model who's a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Models who are on a different level, you're probably going to have to pay. But then, if a model who's below your level approaches you, then generally they'll have to pay. So it's best to find someone that has a similar amount of experience that you do. That's the word I was looking for. But it's really hard because for me, myself, I like to see examples of photographers' work. So just saying you want to do a shoot, I'd like to see what you want to do or something similar to what you want to do or what you have done in the past. I don't know if that really helps or not.
Yeah, it sort of helps, but I think the best thing is if a photographer contacted you and only had 3 pictures in their folio or on their webpage or whatever, there'd be less chance that you would work with them than if they had hundreds of pictures.
Yes, but that's for me personally in my experience level.
Yeah, but that's still going to be going.
But that's why I say, so if you find someone if you're just starting as a photographer, but you find someone who's just starting as a model, then you guys can grow and work together. So I think that'd be the best way to. Yeah,
no, 100%. And it is that thing that if your photographer is on a similar level to a model, sorry, just watching a cup, there's more chance that you're just going to work as a test shoot, not need to change money. But as soon as the photographer and model separate. So one, do I need to come here?
Yeah.
Separate, so the model's at this level and the photographer's at this level. There's a good chance the photographer wants to get paid by the model, or the model wants to get paid by the photographer.
I was just explaining the levels with my hands, doing my weird hand talking thing.
Your
I get
weird
my nails
hand
back
talking.
next week, guys. I'm so excited.
If you're going to ask me a question, you need to ask it loudly.
Any plans to do some more of your My Stuff shoots, Peter?
I don't know, I didn't hear you.
Any plans to do more of your My Stuff series?
Oh yeah, 100%, but Beck already, you should be able to answer this, Beck.
You want to, but you haven't had the time?
It's a little part of it, well, especially since we've got, what do they call it, Chinese virus?
Oh my God, Peter.
Or whatever Trump's
Stop
called
upsetting people.
Sorry, you're allowed to say comical things. There's a show coming on about this. Yeah, sorry, I'm making coffee, so I'll keep talking. In my stuff, two things: I need time to do it, and the most important thing is I need the right type of model to do it. So each of my stuff type of ideas, I can't just grab Anne and do a whole heap of my stuff with Anne, because she mightn't suit the ideas I have for my stuff. So with the whole fashion industry changing a lot in the last 10 years, the models I used to do my stuff with have started to disappear because they were too different to the norm. So the models I tend to do a lot of my stuff with were more like haute couture models. Edgy, high-end, wanted to tell incredible stories. Whereas a lot of the models today are Insta models, or what we call e-commerce girls. So they do their Macarena and they change clothes, and do their Macarena, then change clothes. They don't tend to be that into telling stories or creating art. But yes, I'm desperate. I have a folder full of ideas.
Stuart, hopes we're both doing well, and wanted to find out how many photos would you return to a client when doing a normal portrait shoot?
Oh, if it's a client, that's decided on the actual, when we're quoting it. So we pretty much, most of our commercial work, we just quote by the hour. So we'll say, $500 an hour, and then the retouching rate's this, and that's it.
Yeah, and they can pick as many as they want, and then
if they're to the level of retouching that they need done. And that's pretty much how our commercial work works. With model shoots, test shoots,
normally only...
It's whatever's good. Yeah. And it's hard to get through to a model. If we've only got 2 really good pictures out of this shoot, why would we put a shit picture out?
Yeah.
And if we've got, we did that, Katie was one we did recently. Oh, I pulled 5 or 6 out of that shoot with Katie. But then there's other shoots we've done, we've only got 1 or 2 that I was happy that I'd captured what I wanted to capture.
Yeah.
So yeah, it varies around a lot. Yeah.
Stephen said that your workshop allowed you to see light a lot better.
Oh, good.
Inspire helped to understand how to approach shoots and models. So that's good.
No, it's really good. Well, the light is so important.
I should change this.
Because photography means painting with light.
Andre just popped in to say hi and hope all is good with our world. Yes, we're all good. Any tips on actually taking pictures with people? I want my photos to be perfect right away. I also don't like posting my work online. Mostly event photographer, but I don't need a website. I've got enough work.
Yeah, cool. That's a really good place to be in. That's the best place to be in, which means you have a style and you have a look. Your clients like it, so you don't have to go out there and slam it down everyone's throat. So what do you want to know? How to get it quick?
You said any tips on actually taking pictures with people?
I used to, But when I very first did my transition to shooting people rather than fishermen, I'll make it more moving from fishing to fashion. The biggest thing I learnt was through a lot of really bad mistakes by listening to others or watching really bad photography how-tos, as well as books on photography and posing and things like that, got me into so many bad habits and didn't allow me to create anything like what I wanted to create. So the first thing I started to not do is pose. So the second I dropped posing, which means telling the model to do something with their hand, their leg, their shoulders, whatever, instantly my photos felt better, they felt more natural, and every model started to have their own characteristics come out. I then went on to working with their minds and using things like think. Think of where you are right now, think about what you're looking at, thinking about all of those things. And I did that for a while, and that was working to a point, and I was happy that I was getting, again, facial expressions and that I wanted. But very recently, I worked out the very best thing is make the model feel the way you want them to look. So when they're thinking, they're still thinking. And so a lot of the times you've got a thinking face on. Or they're trying to think of something, which is even a worse face. So I've found that my favorite thing is feel. And by getting the model to feel something, by slowing them down so every little movement, they can actually feel what's happening in their head to their brain, is making a big difference. And this is something we played with Julia the other day, which is in an upcoming tutorial.
Yes.
I think that answered the picture.
I think so.
But that's pretty much what I'm aiming at. There's plenty of wedding portrait photographers out there with posing tutorials and things like that. But if you carefully look at the pictures, it's like the same. You got 10 different people with the same expression on their face, which means you didn't really capture that person. You've applied your settings to somebody else's face, which I'm not a big fan of that sort of look. It's really funny. I was in America one year, and it was at Photo Plus, and there was a photographer on stage showing how to pose a bigger girl on a wedding, and after the 10 different movements he made this girl do, you could see on her face was, this feels really uncomfortable and awkward. And when the picture came up on the screen, it looked like, this feels really uncomfortable and awkward. So that's not what I want. I basically want to, and it's the one thing, and Beck's heard me say this a lot, and I've even said it to Beck, I want to show the world these expressions that nobody else has ever seen of you. And the only way you can do that is get them to feel a way that they wouldn't normally feel with the camera jammed in their face. And there's no quick. Some girls I can get them to get into that headspace pretty quick. Even Beck, she failed the other day. Oh my God, she wasted an entire day on me. Oh, sorry, I wasted on her. She just wasn't in the mood, and she should have said, I just don't get it today, because pretty much the pictures were
Horrible. I did not look.
But then she made up for it the next day.
Yeah. Well,
it wasn't made. It's not like makeup. It's just, if you're not in the mood, it's not going to happen.
Even if I'm going to touch on that, I've done a few shoots recently, and I can feel it in my face because of working with Peter. I've become like hyper aware, but sometimes a photographer will ask me to he'll ask me to like have my hand in a certain way that won't be natural, and I can feel my face tightening up, and I already know that was going to be a bad photo because that's not how I would put my hand, but I'll do it anyways. And then when you go back through the photos, you'll see. So I don't know. That's just my 2 cents I wanted to add in. I think
did you want a coffee? Because I didn't make you one.
No, I'm thinking about getting a beer though.
A beer. What have I created?
Andre said to take a girl with you when you meet a model. That's not a bad idea.
What's that?
If you're like first meeting with a model, to have like a girl with you to, it depends on the experience level. Experienced models will be comfortable. If they're inexperienced, they might even bring a chaperone with them.
When I'm training younger models, one of the things I say to them is, if you're going to do a shoot with someone you've never worked with before, just say that you'll be bringing a chaperone.
Yeah.
And if they say, oh no, you can't bring a chaperone, don't work with them. I'm not telling you to take a chaperone, but just by saying that, a dodgy photographer won't want a chaperone.
Yeah.
I've had to do shoots where, yeah, chaperones are here. All I do is make it so the model can't see that person, because I don't want the chaperone to be affecting my pictures. But they're welcome to bring chaperones here. I have no problems with that at all, especially in this day and age. There's so many creeps in the world. Yeah. I basically treat my models like my daughters, and I get them to understand that, you know, this world is not that nice, and there's lots of predators and lots of nasty people with ulterior motives.
I think that's why some of the comments on some videos really get to me a lot, because I know that you treat models like your daughters, and then when people that don't even know you are like, oh, imagine if that was your daughter, it's like they're being treated with like the utmost respect. Like, do you even know Peter? No, you don't. So back in your box, please.
I think the hard thing, and this is why I'm struggling so much with politically correct, I grew up in an age that we were allowed to joke, and it didn't matter what happened. Someone would say a joke and you'd laugh. And I'll never forget there's a space shuttle that crashed or burnt up. Like within an hour of that coming on the news, someone said, do you know what NASA stands for? And it was need another 7 astronauts. Now, as horrible as that sounds, that made me laugh, which took away the horribleness of that situation. And it's really sad that those people died, but it was that little thing that sort of took that edge off it. And I think we're losing our sense of humour in the world, and comedy shouldn't have any boundaries. You should be able to have a joke about anything. We had an Australian comedian, Steady Eddie, and he was severely disabled, couldn't control his muscle movement and that was half his show. And you know, he'd say things like, people spend a fortune to go out and get spastic. I just need to walk into the bar and I'm already there. Oh my God. It's really, but it's so funny.
But he was like making fun of himself.
He was he was just making it light, what he already knew and felt. And I think the world is way too serious. And I do have my own theory, and Beck's heard this a million times. We are following sci-fi. Watch all the sci-fi movies. Everyone's wearing the same clothing. Nobody smiles, nobody's crying, nobody's laughing. Everybody is equal. Watch any of your Star Wars, it's everybody looks the same, everyone's politically correct, and everyone looks bored. Bored, anyway.
Bored. What are the dimensions of the wall? Not just the height and width, but the actual size of the wood.
The wood I bought was 2.4 by 1.2.
Yep.
So there's 2 sheets on each, which makes these walls actually 2.4 by 2.4. I used the framing, we'll put all of this in the building of this, but the framing, the 70 by 35 is the frame that's on, it's just on 3 wheels on the bottom.
But we will be posting a
prequel
to this, and it will show us building it, and I'll put all the dimensions in that for you guys. People are thanking you for your insights and giving them perspective. We're going to be back in LA. We cannot wait to be back in LA, but we're not sure when that will happen because we can't travel. So stay tuned. Once the borders are open and we can travel again, we will be getting out of Australia.
Beck won't let me travel.
I would totally want to travel. It's not me, it's the government. Could do dinner, yeah, sweet. Peter and I like dinner. We like alcohol and food. Oh, you're starting on that one now.
Yeah, well, I got to as far as I want to do that one. I'm just going to preset some stuff to set the background of this.
Are you still shooting with your Hasselblad film camera?
Yeah, not much. But I can still go out the back. I've still got film in the fridge. So yeah, I sort of just don't do it as much anymore because of the whole time it takes to scan. I think it wasted, well, it's not waste, but I think it took me an entire day to scan up about 10 rolls of film to how I wanted it scanned. I was surprised at how little I had that were shots that I didn't like on the film, the last batch I did.
Are you a photographer or something?
Maybe 3 shots on the whole roll that I wouldn't use.
That's good.
Yeah, but like I said before, the commercially, it's just not viable. I did have one client asked me to quote on doing their catalogue in large format film, and I think we worked out it was going to cost them $300 per frame or $200 per frame. And I said, you're going to do that for an online lookbook? I said, this is for you to do a wanker thing saying, this was shot on this, but the people looking at the pictures aren't photographers, they're buying suits. They don't care. And when he started adding up the money, he actually started to realise that, yeah, this whole film thing was just to please him. It wasn't going to sell another single jacket or... So you are on beer?
Yeah. What? I felt like a beer.
You don't look like one.
I'm a grown woman. I can drink beer at midday if I feel like it.
Hey, they don't know what time it is here. You could have said it's like 5 in the afternoon.
Well, people are watching us from LA and New York, and it's acceptable time there, so that's the same thing, right? I'm just going to pretend it is anyway.
Scary. How are those people feeling at the moment?
Yep. Yeah, it's really scary what's happening over there. The person who was asking about tips on working with or shooting people said they're scared of the one-on-one interaction, and what about the fear of posting work online and comparing it to others? And they're a big fan, by the way.
So when you're saying posting online, comparing it to others, are you saying other people comparing your work to other people? That's only photographers who will never be your client, so it doesn't friggin' matter what they think. So other photographers are never going to be your client, so never, ever, ever care what they think. In fact, don't care what anybody thinks. It's your art. And at the end of the day, if you love it, isn't that all that matters? And then bonus if the client loves it as well. But number one, even if the photos you took only you like, and you have to pay for models to do your work because they don't like it or get it, but they're happy to take your money, there's still nothing wrong with that because you've got to enjoy what you're doing. How can you write a really, really good song if you don't actually like the genre you decided to work in? So say that you love classical and you're writing friggin' psytrance, you're never going to like it. So why would you even consider doing that? I think when digital came along, a lot of people try and say that, well, photography is not art. Well, sorry, photography is art. It is very much art. In fact, anything that you're doing that has got your soul attached to it is art. So being a singer, being a musician, being a painter, photographer, a sculptor, a poet, even a YouTube vlogger is an art, because if you look at people like Casey Neistat and who's the other one that's pretty big? Well, there's all these vloggers that have a style and everyone starts copying their style. So it's a really amazing. I'm not, like, I love what Casey Neistat's done, but some of his editing things, I love that other vloggers have started to copy what he did. So it's an art of how he put his stuff together. And even once these people grow really big, and I think people like Casey would have, he's got staff of 15, 20 or something. Last time I saw he had 9 or 10 in New York, I'm just guessing. He's still putting out his brand. He's just employing other people now to do his look. But Casey came up with, well, if he didn't, he copied someone's look that gave that look and then he made it famous. I don't know the story behind it, so I'm just guessing that, yeah, I can't push this enough that really you cannot do anything creative if you're worried about what other people are going to think. Because I don't care what anybody thinks about what I'm doing right now.
Pardon?
Oh, you haven't listened to a word I said, have you?
I was reading.
You're reading, yeah, right.
And so, no, so we got in, someone commented on the video, not in the live chat, saying, wow, when technical difficulties become very technically difficult.
What's difficult?
I don't know, so I was really confused. I just checked and I was checked from my own YouTube account and everything.
It's become technically difficult.
I don't know. I'm confused. Doesn't take much to confuse me though.
Especially not when you're on the beer.
I've had like not even half a beer.
Not even half a beer.
No.
Well, that's half of what, not even half a beer more than I've had.
When the US is open, come back to New York. Hell yeah, we'll be coming back to New York.
Yeah, Ray's Pizza.
Oh, just pizza in general.
Where else? Oh yeah, what's the name of the place? Chopped Cheese in. Oh, where was that?
Harlem.
Harlem. Yeah,
Yum.
Chopped Cheese in Harlem.
Yum.
Oh, that Mexican place wasn't that good down Soho that I've always gone. We've got to find a better Mexican place now.
That's right, we can find that. Yeah, we will definitely be updating the website when we are traveling again. And let me flick to mine.
We're most likely going to move out of home for a year, aren't we?
Probably just not going to come back to Australia for a whole year. But yeah, I'll update the website, and I do also send out a monthly mail out, so that is also a good place. If you want to subscribe to the mailing list, you can do so on the blog or the website. I think you can subscribe on the workshop's website. So. Or you can just send me an email and I'll manually add it to it, whatever suits you the best. And then I send through updates, or you can join our Facebook group. There's heaps of ways to keep in touch and find out about announcements when we'll be traveling again. Contact lenses for me. I don't know if they mean for me or for you, Peter, because we both wear glasses. But for me, I don't wear contact lenses because I don't like getting them out. And also I normally have like 2-inch long fake nails on, so it's basically impossible for me. And plus I like my glasses. I think they kind of suit me. Anyway, enough about me.
With me, I've never tried them, but which ones have I got on now? I've got 2 pairs of glasses, yeah, I've got them. It took me like 4 years to go to multifocal because I just kept falling over. I
don't think you can get contacts if you've got those.
No, you have contacts for your long distance and put readings on over the top.
Ah.
I did look in to get laser surgery done, but that all was too friggin' bullshitty. But yeah, I hate glasses, but when I just set my dioptrics on the camera, so I'm not wearing glasses when I take photos, I have my editing / sim racing glasses, which are my full arm length plus about 50 mil. Is where I have them focused for, and that's for sitting to edit, or if I'm driving the sim. Then I have these, which are my long distance or my very short distance, and put up with the shit. Not a fan of glasses, but I don't think photography, although people get glasses when they get old, so it's just getting old thing, but I used to do fly tying for years commercially, and it's this like this, and I never had glasses for that.
Mine's hereditary. My mum had to get glasses when she was in her early 20s, and I had great eyesight until my early 20s, and all of a sudden I needed glasses. So thanks for that, Mum. I can't wait to get arthritis as well. That's going to be fun.
That was a MySpace thing.
Recently was talking about vintage photography styles. Do you ever shoot vintage fashion using vintage clothes?
Yeah, used to a lot. I used that industry to get into fashion. So alternative and vintage, like pin-up and things like that, are very, very easy to get work that doesn't pay you. So it's really easy to actually do some cool shoots with stylists, makeup artists, models that all want to be involved without being paid, but you don't get paid. And then if you get your photos good enough, then you'll pick up a little bit of stuff within the industry, but most people in those industries don't pay because they don't make a lot of money out of vintage clothing and things like that. And there's always a photographer out there that'll do it for nothing. But that was a stepping stone I used when I was making the transition away from fishing. And yeah, I did, I think it was about 7 or 8 big clothing, well, when I say big, within the industry of the sort of alternative and pin-up that I worked with. And that got my name out. People could see my skill as a photographer and got my name out more. And then I got more commercial work coming in from brands that wanted to have that alternative feel, but they weren't really alternative. That started painting, like Black Milk is a perfect example. You know, they contacted me because they'd seen some work I'd done with Gallery Serpentine and Devil Dolls clothing. So that got me to them, and then there was Dissendorf, another, you remember them?
Huh?
Dissendorf or something? It's another brand. And I started to pick up a few alternative labels. And then it's really easy because the alternative labels are getting pretty close to haute couture, which is what I loved. So it gave me the ability to make the transition across to that more high-end, edgy fashion by shooting some of that alternative. But the pin-up side, it is a very, very, very small money area. You won't make $1 million off it. Just look at Dita Von Teese. So even though she's got her business fairly big within that industry, if you compare her to other designers more commercial, they've gone much further because the pin-up and alternative is a very small demographic.
Move over a little bit.
Oh, you need me to stand?
Yeah, that's better.
Well, I'm waiting for a question. Oh, you just want me to
Sorry.
stand here? Is this a you thing?
No, you don't have to stand there. Jeff said he'll give us some restaurant suggestions for New York. That would be...
Who did?
Jeff.
Jeff, for New York?
Yep. That would be amazing.
You just want to go back to Ray's, 3 o'clock in the morning.
I got pizza. I got a hankering for pizza. I needed it. Chad says he's a huge fan of us both and wants to know where I got the Timberlake crop. It is actually Peter's. It lives at the studio and it came from a store we have in Australia called Supray, but it was probably like 15 years ago. I had the same crop. That's how I know.
Yeah, it was about, wouldn't it be?
I think, because I wore it to my first concert, which was a Justin Timberlake concert, and I'm pretty sure I was 12 years old, so that would have been 15 years ago.
Yeah, it would be 15. It was just before I moved in here.
Yeah.
Because that's because my old place used to be in Eastland, and Supray used to give me clothing.
That's vintage.
Yeah, it's vintage. Supray used to give me clothing to shoot as long as I gave them pictures back. So I built up some of my wardrobe that way.
Cool. Supray's good for basics. I don't know, it's just a cheap clothing store here in Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently multifocal contact lenses are a thing. I didn't know. Did
Cool.
I ever watch the movie? Hey Paul, thank you for watching. No, I never got around to watching that movie, but I do remember you telling me about it, and now that we've got all this time on our hands, I probably should.
What movie?
It's called 2046.
Can you write it in my list?
Yeah, both me and Peter and I.
What was that movie that I didn't think you'd like, but we both end up liking?
Ghost Story?
No, you haven't watched that yet.
No.
No, the one recently, Green Houses.
Oh, Vivarium.
Yeah, it's a really slow-moving,
It's not
annoying.
that slow. It only goes for like an hour and a half.
No, but it seems to move slow.
I didn't find
Annoying, but it gets you hooked. You just need
So
to know where
good.
it's going to finish.
Yeah,
It's
I should watch.
a
It's
bit
got the
cool.
guy that
I liked
from
that
Social
movie.
Network in it. Yeah, really good movie. Anyways, are you finished painting?
No, I'll be painting until you turn off the stream.
Oh, okay.
But I think since it's now 4 o'clock in the afternoon,
Well, questions are slowing down. So yeah, if you guys have any more questions, please let us know. Peter and Beck ASMR channel. I absolutely cannot stand ASMR. I know like lots of people find it relaxing. It just like makes my skin crawl. So I don't
What's
know.
that?
It's going dark. ASMR. It's that thing people do where they like whisper things. You would have seen videos of people doing it.
what are you talking about?
No, like they put the microphone like really close and then they'll like crunch on the things.
Yeah, someone tried to tell me about that, yeah.
Oh, it makes my skin crawl. I know that some people find it really relaxing and it soothes them, but I'm not one of those people.
Yeah, I don't need anybody whispering into my ears. I've got my own friggin' devil whispering in there every day.
Huh?
So have I got questions?
No, I think I've
No?
caught up.
Does that mean we should scrap it up?
We can, yeah. I was just going to change this, and I should probably have changed the camera before I did that.
Should have you?
Yeah.
You'll see the difference I've done, whereas I start off with a lot of water. On this, I'm just working my background at the moment, and I'm going to let my background go off so the water won't drip it, and then I'll drip things over the top of what I've done.
Interesting.
Interestings.
Yeah. I really like how that light one that you did came up. It looked really good.
So I don't have to shoot you in front of it now.
Yay.
Yes. Can I do your makeup for it?
Only if we film it.
Yeah, I was going to do it with these paints.
No.
I was going to camouflage you into the wall.
That's mean.
Are we done?
Paul wants to know how you feel about everyone sort of copying your style after they do a workshop. Obviously trying to find their own style, but how do you feel about that?
I only get upset when, there's two things that make me upset. Someone who's grabbed a picture of mine because the woman looks like she was naked, to use that picture as an influence to get another woman naked for a photo that she wouldn't normally do. I absolutely hate that. Because I know I've actually had models say to me, oh yeah, such and such wanted to recreate this picture of yours, but I wasn't prepared to get naked. And I said, but the model wasn't naked when we did it anyway. Oh yeah, but the photographer wanted me naked. So that I don't like at all. But when it comes to copying my work so you can learn to be a photographer, I've got no problems at all about it whatsoever.
Or even the style, I guess.
Style, who says I was the original person to come up with that concept anyway?
Yeah.
There could have been 3 other people shoot something nearly. Well, Beck and I had the same thing.
I was about to say.
Beck stole somebody's idea many years. She's not going to bite. Well, I don't know how it happened. Beck was online. We found a Tarantino shirt. We both said that would be cool for a shoot. When we were in LA, we were walking down one of the strips of clothing. I said, I want to get a really high-waisted pair of undies to do with that Tarantino shirt because I've got this picture in my head that I want. And it was based off a really horrible picture by the clothing company that sold the Tarantino shirt. I thought, that was horrible. If I use a good model, good lighting, that same sort of concept, I'll get a really cool picture. We did this, and then we had this cross-player claim that we had stolen their work because they followed us.
I think I had her on Facebook, but I had thousands, before I deleted Facebook, I had thousands of people I don't know on Facebook, but
Yeah.
she seemed to have this idea that we knew her and
we knew the picture and we copied it. And Beck had even parted her hair the same way. And it actually got really nasty.
She made a live stream.
She made a live
was calling
stream
names
attacking us and things like that.
Yeah.
And eventually I finally got, because I just completely refused to answer after I could see it was one way, her way or no way. She couldn't believe that anybody else would shoot in a Tarantino shirt.
That was $15 online.
There's $15 online. And so eventually, it was late one night, she was on bagging me again. And I basically said to her, well, I'm not going to do this online. Here's my phone number. You want to talk about, ring me. And we spent about an hour and a half on the phone. At the end of the hour and a half, she kissed and made up with me and could see exactly where I got my story from. I showed her a screenshot of my lounge room that is full of Tarantino memorabilia. I showed her the whole story behind our shoot. I showed her the lighting, the pose, everything that was shot like 10 years ago that we used as references to how we were going to shoot our shot. And it was really funny that the photographer that shot it was someone who had 5 or 6 recreations of my photos on.
Yeah.
So
but that's why the
lighting was similar, because he'd used my style of lighting.
So it's not like you sit there and jump up and down like, you copy my stuff. It's just,
Yeah, really, I get so much inspiration out of some of Peter Lindbergh. I've got 2 series I'm doing. One is based on Kate Moss. Another one's a Kate Moss shot by Peter Lindbergh. I'm doing the whole series based on these 2 pictures. So one of them is laying on the ground, not laying on a couch, because I did want it a little bit different. But my overalls against a timber wall, that is 100% based on one of my favourite shots of Kate Moss. And I'm copying the mood and doing it with whole heaps of different models as my sorry?
Your homage.
My homage to Kate Moss and Peter Lindbergh. So, and if anybody asks, that's 100% where I got the idea of doing this, because I don't know if I'm ever going to get to shoot Kate Moss. I know I'm never going to meet Peter Lindbergh. Well, I might meet him in 15, 20 years.
Oh, you don't say that.
Huh?
Oh, why is that? Oh. Helps if I turn the other camera on before I flick to it.
See what happens when she drinks beer? If she drinks wine, this doesn't happen. It's only beer.
Paul asked a question because he did shot with a shovel the other day. It was the only prop available at the time, but he did feel it was a bit too close to a copycat, hence the question.
Yeah, we had someone in our group put up the shovel shot as well. I copied.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't copy someone with a shovel, but there's a famous Helmut Newton picture which I love, which is complete. If you looked at the 2, you would say there's no comparison. But I think she had a bit of plumber's tubing on a white wall casting a shadow. And it was just this nothing type of prop that had nothing to do with the picture, that he had her with the picture. And we were shooting, this shoot was for a thing for her site, wasn't it?
Yeah.
For the model's site?
Yeah.
And it was at one of her pay-per-view sites.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of nudity on it. And at the end I wanted some stuff for myself. And I said, I shot a little bit of it and I said, I need something. So I just all of a sudden thought, she got this stupid shovel out the back. And I ran out the back, grabbed the shovel, walked in. She got the biggest smile in the world, and they became the best shots from the shoot. So there's nothing wrong with that. There's the shoot I did with Anne with the American Gridiron helmet on was, I was in Boston, in America, walked past a Tommy Hilfiger store and a whole front window with these gold painted gridiron masks. I thought that'd be really cool for a shoot. So where you get your inspiration can be anything. And all I say is if you're going to copy something identical and then show the world it either has to be heaps different or heaps better. Otherwise, just use it to teach yourself, because that's how I learned, by looking at some of my great photography, trying to replicate it so I can learn my lighting. Once I did get my lighting and everything right, then I made it mine. I would change 1 or 2 things. I might have kept the lighting and then changed the props or the outfits.
Changed.
Cool.
Paul would like to know, are you getting bored with your own style? Where do you see yourself going stylistically? No,
I'm not getting bored. I've still got my style in my head. I'm getting frustrated that I can't find some of the types of models I want. They used to be really easy to find. They just don't seem to exist anymore, which is the high-end haute couture.
They don't seem to exist in Australia.
Yeah, but it's still the high-end haute couture models because there's
Yeah.
not much of an industry for them to be around in anymore.
Yeah.
I would say I'm more frustrated with finding talents in. It's really hard to explain. I'm not looking at a pretty girl. There's a certain look I want for a certain picture, and that gets frustrating when I'm trying to find. And I find that look overseas, but it's not in my studio where I've got the prop that I've got my idea for
That's
it.
the hardest part, yeah.
So it is a bit hard, but no,
Maybe we could
my mind's crazy. My mind never stops. So at the drop of a hat, it's the poo paper shoot we did with Beck. It was just the whole thing with toilet paper selling out, which I just couldn't understand. Let's make the most expensive bikini in the world with toilet paper.
But then we found, I was looking at some photographer's work the other day and we saw that he did a photo.
Yeah, a month before I did mine.
A month before, and they were wrapped in, but we'd never seen it
But they
before.
weren't, it was quite a bit
Very
different. He actually changed her head to a roll of toilet paper as well.
It was very different, but it's still
It's
like...
still a toilet paper shoot, yeah.
Yeah, it just goes to show that, people can have the same idea.
Same idea.
Yeah.
You can walk. We've got a studio mascot here, and
We've got another 6 upstairs, little puppies.
how are we going? Do we need to wrap up if we got to the end?
There's no more questions, so... No, if you guys don't have any more questions, I guess we might wrap it up.
Yeah, so you've seen what I've done with that. I might just, once I do another layer, we might just, our next live, we might show you the finished of them. Our next live, we might even shoot next to them.
Oh, that'd be cool.
That'd be cool.
Should I show them the other side of it or no?
What, the watch I haven't, yeah, I can spin it around now.
I could just get a camera and walk around. This may not be very steady.
But it's not tethered. The tether won't reach.
Wrong one.
So we have our black side. I'm gonna have to lift it because you broke this wheel yesterday.
I did not break it.
Although once I get it off the cloth, it'll just slide. There we go.
So that
So we've
one's
got-
gonna have
That's going to be our black side,
black
which
textured
I'm
side.
going to do work on. And then we've got, I'm just going to leave this as is because I really like that
that's
timber
just had-
texture will come up really, really nice.
That's
in
had
black and white.
nothing done to it. That's
Nothing
just
done to it, it's just as the timber was. Cool?
Cool. Cool bananas.
So you can just wrap it up now.
Okay.
Do your dumb voice and
Well, thank you guys for
There it
tuning
comes.
in. Someone said they could listen to you all day. No, you don't. I have to listen
Nah.
to them all day. Trust me, it's not as
I
good.
can't even listen to me all day.
It's not as good as you think it would be. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in to the live stream. If you are watching this after it's been broadcasted and you have questions, leave them down below and we will answer them. As promised, tutorial on how we built that wall will be coming next week, along with a heap of new Inspire things. We just need to lock ourselves away in a video edit and post it all. Again, sign up to the mailing list if you want to be informed, or join the Facebook group, and I will be keeping you all updated when our government will allow us to travel, when the whole world opens up, I guess.
We can't get it. We can get out, but we can't get back in.
We could get back in, we just have to
We
go...
just go to jail,
Yeah, basically.
locked into a room without windows. Beck has to give up smoking.
Oh, yeah, I know. I'd probably be good for me, though. Paul said the greatest aspect of Peter's Inspire is that it shows you can all produce work with a very simple style. That's awesome. So yeah, if you guys do want more in-depth tutorials, as always, Inspire is there. Yeah, I think that was all, but I might wrap this up. I think I'm rambling now. Is there anything else I needed to add?
No, I don't think so. Keep safe.
Yeah, keep safe, keep healthy, keep positive, and hopefully this all ends soon. And get back to work. Bye, guys.